Mic check. Mic check. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Wherever you are, however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day. It's great to be here. Great to be seen. And short week this week. I just remembered that we didn't work yesterday. But for those of you who follow us on TikTok and are in the Discord, you know I was putting in work yesterday. So you dirty bird. We'll talk about that video. For all of you who said I would not make the watermelon video, incorrect. And I know one person who claims she has not seen the watermelon video yet, and we're going to force her to watch it. Good morning, Jennifer.
You actually did it.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah.
Not back on TikTok, but our backup account is available on TikTok. It's RTP Talks TOKS. Jen,
Am I gonna?
you're gonna love it.
Am I gonna barf? I didn't have a big breakfast, so that's probably okay.
I think you're gonna love it. I even edited it myself. Let me see if I can get this up. Wait, why are you why did you laugh when I said I edited it myself?
I edited it myself. I edited it myself.
That's pretty good for me. All right. Look at the comments. Best video on TikTok, they're saying. Some have said best video ever. Let me pull this up here.
It's really not, it's not right to lie.
What's that?
I said it's really not good to lie.
All right. Well, what people don't know about me is I can put two trends together at once. I will say a couple of things. At some point, it appears that I hit my head. Actually, I'll cover that after. Let's just play it. Jen, are you ready?
Really fast. Liberal, annihilator, analator, whatever. You're stupid.
Liberal, anal hater. All right. How are you going to see this? Can you watch the live stream? It's going to be on.
I can mute this and watch it on the other one.
Okay. All right. You ready? It's going to be like there's like a 5-second delay. So Jen's silence at the end will be partially delay and partially like getting her breath back. Everybody else, as promised, here is our watermelon challenge to support women's. Hey, Jen.
You're stupid.
That's good. That my inner thighs are bruised. Admittedly, I really had to soften up that watermelon before I could crush it. That was so much harder than I thought that was going to be. Yeah. So.
Well, it was funny. I'll give you that.
Thank you. I do have a massive knot on my head. I really did bang my head hard. On that take, we left it in there, and that sucked. There's a bruise on my right thigh, and I pulled my groin a little bit. That sucked. And the person I'm dating filmed that, so I don't think I think that watermelon might be the last thing I get intimate with for a while. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
That's hilarious.
She didn't think it was quite as funny as I thought it was, but
well, you did a good job.
Thank you.
It's funny. Glad you followed through.
Are you gonna save it on your phone?
Absolutely. I'll send it to Swan. She'll laugh. She'll get a big kick out of it.
Good. Thank you.
Because her and I talked about it. But she recommended that you use an orange. That it would work better.
Yeah. I could have done an orange. It's pretty blitzed at that point, if we're being honest. Like we drank a lot of margaritas that day and then smoked right before. And there was just this man off to the side watching all of it. Didn't ask any questions. He just sat there and watched. So
that would be hilarious to see someone doing. Is that right? Like no one, they're not chronically online. They have no idea what's going on.
I just want to point out. that I believe I'm, there's a lot of talk about supporting women. I think I'm the only one who took the watermelon on a date. Clearly that watermelon was consenting. And I wanted to make that clear in the video that although it was eventually destroyed, I think I was very sweet and gentle beforehand.
I mean, did you have to take multiple takes for any of it, or I mean, was it just a one shot, sir?
Did I have to what?
Did you have to like do any multiple takes for different things? Like,
Oh my God, the amount of time it took me to break that watermelon. In fact, I had another watermelon, and when I'm like bouncing it on the ground to soften it up, I broke one of the watermelons. So I'm like, shit. I had to go get another watermelon. And even in the clip where I finally break it, it would just like it would get this tiny little crack, and I had to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until the crack got big enough that I could rip it open. But that sucked. That really, really. I was at the store like trying to find the softest watermelon. Kudos to Lumberjack Man and everybody who broke it, because I don't know how many takes they took, but probably less than me. And I was like, I need to do a little more weight on leg day. That's what I decided.
well, I've known this that you've got
Trunks. Yeah.
So I've known that, but
I had a
a lot
fluffer
of people
watermelon.
didn't realize.
Yeah.
So Jeremy sent a memo, said, "Sorry, I doubted DJ. You really showed that watermelon who's boss."
Thank you.
And then Cam said,
It was so.
"I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
Cam said, "I'm glad you found a slide. You are tall enough to ride.
Fuck off,
Also,
Cam.
got to witness your first time bumping your head on something other than the coffee table. Love that for you."
Thank you, Cam. How tall is Cam? Isn't Cam like 5'6"?
I mean,
being height shamed by Cam.
Energy, so.
All Rams fans are 5'6" or below.
Right.
Yeah.
But no,
what was I saying? At one point when I couldn't break the watermelon, we thought about cutting a hole in the watermelon because I thought that would soften it up and also be funny. But then I thought that might be too far, so I was that was vetoed. My friend Lindsay was also there. She's the one that took the picture for like the cover, and they both vetoed that one. So.
Well, I think this gives something from that video is going to likely be in the calendar. I think it has to.
So Sophia said, "Is that Puerto Rico song stuck in your head as it is for me?" That song has been stuck in my head for 3 weeks. That's the only reason I even played that video. I swear to God, I wake up every single day with that song stuck in my head. Every single day. It hasn't left my head the entire time.
So the Miami Vice outfit was.
Thank you.
I'm guessing that was pre-planned. Did you pick it out your outfit yourself, or
I went shopping that day for an outfit, put it together.
Tim, you've upset Tim. He's calling you a narcissist.
Tim's just mad that I fucked a watermelon and not him. I'm sorry, Tim. It'll get better. Things will get better. Tim's probably just Bambi.
Probably.
Got banned and had to go make a new YouTube channel.
Probably, but good job.
Thank you
for completing the challenge.
And I think we've eradicated women's heart disease. I think it's done now.
You did it all by yourself. One-man army.
Sarah, no time for a spray tan. No, I went to the pool before, but it was hot as shit. I do not enjoy laying out in the sun. So I stayed in the shade most of it.
Well, that, like I said, good job. I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to vomit. I appreciate you not making me want to barf, but but
you're welcome. All right, do your thing.
Virtual air high five.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna get going. We've got short week. Yesterday was Memorial Day. We took the day off. We want to remind everybody about our gift goal. This is our job. We do this each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. So we need to hit that gift goal each day so that we can continue doing so and pay our bills. So if you guys could help us out, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out the gift goal. We prefer some of the pay links because they take less from us that way. But all is appreciated to knock that out. So if you're not a subscriber already, please become one, a paid member or subscriber. If you're a paid member or subscriber, you can join us for members only events. We've got we're going to be watching the rest of Company Retreat this upcoming Wednesday, so tomorrow. So if you're not a paid member or subscriber and you want to become one and join us for that, make sure you do that. If you guys disagree with RTP and you want to come up and have a conversation, how you do that is you send me a message on Discord. My Discord username is the same as Venmo. And so it's Jen with 2 N's, Deb with 2 B's, the number 1. So you just send me a message and I can bring you on and have that conversation. Check out the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch. She's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify. I saw someone ask, I did not go on a date this weekend.
I've wondered because I didn't hear from you at all this whole weekend. What'd you do?
No. Well, I did go to a wedding on Saturday.
Oh, that's right. But with Spawn.
Yeah. So that was, this is kind of, so Spawn is 12. And so so I think on Friday, she's like, well, I don't have anything to wear. So she wanted to go find something for her to wear. And so we go to TJ Maxx and walking around, and she's 12, so but she's taller. She'll be tall. She's almost.
Was her dad tall?
Yeah, her dad was.
Oh, of course. I don't know why I asked that question. You only climb tall trees. Sorry, my bad.
Exactly. Her dad was 6'3". I'm 5'3". So so we're looking at walking around, and they don't have any kid stuff. So we go to like the junior section. We see this dress, and it's cute. So we go try it on. Why? So she puts on, and it was really cute on her. She's like, I've got a gyat. Look at my gyat, Mom.
Gyat?
Do you know what gyat means?
No, of course I don't know.
Ass.
Why is it gyat?
I don't know.
All right.
So she was very excited because she thought that she had ass. You're 12. Stop it.
All right. Did you post a wedding fit check? Yeah.
I have one, but I didn't post it.
I'm trying to read why it's as a noun, it is used to describe a shapely body or a particularly large and attractive posterior. He or she has got a gyat, 2 T's at the end. GYATT. I learned something new today. All right.
Yeah. So I mean, it was pretty funny. She was feeling her gyat.
Seen gyat dam? Maybe. All right.
Yeah.
Well, when's the next date? Wednesday? While you're supposed to be watching the video with the members, you'll just be.
Actually, you know what? Someone did ask about going out on Wednesday.
Make them join. Make them join. We'll ask them questions after. We can have a Q&A with your date.
No. Well, you know,
Coward.
I have had these conversations. I think some guys that I talked to, they really want to know about the show, and I'm not giving them the information. So, because I don't necessarily want people.
Jen's embarrassed of me.
Well,
I don't. She feels like family now.
So Cam had to send a Venmo. I'm 6'2". Thank you very much. How are your thighs?
No fucking way. There's no fucking way Cam is 6'2". Cam, post a picture in the Discord with a measuring tape. There's no way you're an inch above 5'6".
So, how are your thighs? Bruised? Shouldn't they be tough from being a horse jockey?
Jesus. Why is Cam funny now? I fucking hate Cam. Why has he been nailing me lately?
I mean, Cam has been funny, but
I think I just hated him.
You're always at the butt of the jokes. So
Blue Chew said, was that watermelon seedless when you started? It was not seedless, but it got a few more seeds in it.
Yep. So yeah. So yeah, knock out the gift goal. Let's do that. And then I changed a light bulb.
Oh, nice.
Across the street and walked into a bar. My life is a joke.
No. I'm more embarrassed by that than you were of the video. That was a tough one. All right, everybody, welcome. We'll jump into it today. A lot of stuff we could have covered. I know that there's some chatter about Trump's health. I'm just not going to cover that because I don't know anything about it, and it feels like if you have eyes, you know Trump's not healthy. If you have ears, you know that his brain isn't healthy. And so I'm not going to cover any of that stuff. But I wanted to start with this clip from Ari Melber he had on Mom Donnie. And 50 Cent, who's hilarious, offered Mom Donnie $258,000 in a first-class one-way ticket out of New York City. I wanted to show this just because I like how Mamdani's able to engage with his critics and not take himself so seriously and not get upset and fight back. I also would like to point out that billionaires should shut the fuck up. Stop crying about a 2% tax increase when there's literally people all over your city who can't afford to live, and you made billions of dollars by writing music and then investing in vitamin water. And vitamin water sucks. So I just want to say that. And also, I love 50 Cent, and I'm glad that I'm not a prominent enough streamer for him to target me. But I do generally like him. He's just another rich dude who doesn't want to pay taxes. But I liked this response from Mamdani.
Spoken about these financial plans you have, and you made a point on New York radio, which
I didn't know anything about that, Mystic Mimic. I don't know anything about the accusations against 50 Cent, so I retract everything I said. He probably is shitty. I just liked his music.
And you made a point on New York radio, which a lot of people listen to address 50 Cent. And you know he's a critic.
Video shit. Sorry. Yeah, you knew that was going to happen.
He's a critic of high taxes. But let me just go ahead, and then we'll play it. Go ahead.
I didn't even know what my salary would be until I opened up Instagram and I saw this thing, which was like 50 Cent offers Mamdani X amount of money.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a very specific amount of money. And I was like, oh my God, that's...
Yeah, so now we'll do this in reverse order.
Sorry.
He said, I'll give you $258,000 and a first-class one-way ticket out of New York. That's what you're referencing.
You know, what I would say to you, 50, if you are indeed watching, or anyone else who's watching this show, is I continue to think that having the top 1% of New York City, or making more than $1 million a year, having them pay 2% more for an economic agenda that would transform every New Yorker's life, including their own, is something that is worthwhile. And the reason I say including their own is when you see a city like ours that is underfunding its city agencies, that is pulling back on the most basic things like library services and trash cans, everybody feels the knock-on effects of that. And my job as someone who believes deeply in the public sector is to ensure that we're delivering public excellence. And that means every dollar that we raise, I want to be able to prove to you that it's every dollar that's being well spent.
That's a great answer. And I was talking to my friend, and American exceptionalism is an obvious lie, and we live in the dumbest timeline. I was talking to two of my friends who they're like all in on Spencer Pratt, which in some instances I can get it. Like Spencer Pratt speaks to anybody who doesn't understand how government works, how funding works, and he's talking about problems that people are aware of, but it can't, like this class divide, where these rich folks are upset that they're going to pay 2% more. And it's going to pay for things like Mamdani said, like libraries and transportation and childcare, and helping people who are unhoused find a place to live, and help people who are, maybe on drugs, get off drugs. These are such simple solutions in America, and it's really fucking embarrassing that as a country, we can't just say, what are our problems? Like, especially when addressing like a massive growing unhoused population. What's the problem? This is what's crazy about Spencer Pratt. Like Spencer Pratt's like, the problem is all 40,000 people who are unhoused in Los Angeles are drug addicts, and they want to be drug addicts. Therefore, his solution, I swear to God, this is a solution. I had to double check. He wants to build a concentration camp. And what he said is, I can build this in 3 days, and I'm going to put it on federal land. And he's like second in polling in Los Angeles. That goes to show just how many people in Los Angeles are unaware of how any of this shit works. I don't know how the fuck you're going to get federal land. And I don't know how the fuck you're going to build it in 3 days. But he says he's going to build a, shelter or concentration camp in 3 days and put it on federal land. He doesn't understand like the role of local government. And I don't know much about like mayoral politics or even the politics in Los Angeles. Like I don't, what's the mayor's name again? I forget her name. I honestly don't know if she's a good mayor or not. I have no idea. What I can say is that taking people and removing them, taking people who are unhoused and just removing them doesn't work. It's never worked. You have to go, Karen Bass, thank you. You have to address the root problem. And the root problem is what? One, it's true that a lot of these people are addicted to drugs. How did that happen? People don't just like one day be like, you know what I'm going to do today? Meth. I'm just going to do meth today and never stop doing meth. No, a lot of them wind up hooked on pain pills. from injuries, then they lose their job, then they lose their insurance, then they lose their family, then they lose their house, and they wind up living on the streets, addicted to drugs. And there was just no scenario where we could step in and fix that. But what if you have healthcare that isn't tied to your employment? Then what happens if you get addicted? What happens if you lose your job because you wind up addicted to pain pills? At the very least, you have some sort of treatment. It's really like our problems in this country are really pretty simple because you can just look backwards. You can look back to when taxes, the top earners in this country were taxed much higher. What happened? They paid their workers more. Their workers had retirement. They had pensions. They could go on vacation. School teachers, for example. I had a school teacher, and this was towards the end, but like I had a school teacher who every summer his family would do a month-long vacation. And he had like 5 kids. His wife didn't work. I'm sure they were very frugal, but he would teach all year, and then he would take his family on a vacation. Can't do that now. You can tell you haven't done drugs. I've done some drugs. Or just don't charge for the treatment. That's an option too. But all these solutions are so fucking brain dead and lazy that it's embarrassing that Spencer Pratt is either second or third in the polls. Now, I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he can catch up to Karen Bass. I think 24% is about his peak. And I think that if it winds up being Spencer Pratt versus Karen Bass, I think it's going to be a landslide. But I hate that there's people in my life who think Spencer Pratt's a good candidate. And one of the things they said is, we've tried all these other things. Let's try something new. And I would just like to say to anybody out there who thinks, let's try something new. I like trying something new, but maybe the new thing we try isn't an idiot. Maybe not just like some dude who was on a reality show and like everybody hated him. He's kind of Trump. His ability to recreate a new personality. I remember during the Trump roast, actually, what's that guy's name? Anthony Jeselnik does a joke that says if you open up the dictionary and you look up the word douchebag, there's a picture of Spencer Pratt. But if you look closely, Spencer Pratt is looking at a picture of Trump. And that was like 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. That's who Spencer Pratt was. They were 2 of the most laughable douchebags in the country. And now here we are. And they're like, I'm going to be in politics now. And people just think that's a really good fucking idea. He's a Sandy Hook denier. Is he really? Of course he is. Of course he is. Is this live? Pratt is wrecking Bass. What polls is Pratt wrecking Karen Bass? I looked him up. What polling are you talking? I didn't look at Kalshi. Let's see what Kalshi looks like. That might be one that conservatives are looking at. Karen Bass is dominating Kalshi. I can pull this over here even. Where's Pratt? Pratt's blue. Yeah, he's peaking at 26.9. If we go back and we just look at the poll, I thought that would be the one you were pointing to. Let's look here. Here's the latest polls. Signal has Bass +3, 25-22. This one has her +14 over Spencer Pratt. That's for likely voters. What are the difference between these 2 polls? It's the same poll. That's weird. Emerson has Bass +12. Tavern has Bass +4. Tavern has Bass +1. I mean, there's nowhere that Pratt is dominating the polls. What are you talking about? Do you have a poll in mind where Pratt is dominating? He's behind in every single poll. She's winning every poll. And that's against, like, some of these people are like established politicians. So she's going to pick those up. Pratt's just like it's kind of like what Trump did early on in the Republican primaries. Pratt had like a base and he was able to pick people off, but I don't think anybody's going to believe that he's a Democrat. That's what my friend told me today. He's like, Pratt's a Democrat, actually. Is Pratt high on the Republican polls? Well, he says he's a Democrat. He didn't manage his own finances. Yeah. Isn't it like, didn't he come back into the picture when he was complaining about losing his house or something? Isn't that what it was? That's how he kind of got back into this and started blaming her for, they all just want to be able to rebuild without any like zoning rules or like any studies on the I guess not soil, but like the sturdiness of the land around them. And they just want to be able to rebuild immediately and not have to jump through any hoops. Jackie said, I'm very impressed. I assume that meant about the watermelon crushing video. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I'll check over here too. There we go. All right. Then there was one other clip from the interview that I really liked because I think this is something that you could do in LA. And why Karen Bass isn't copying this and why Republican or Democrats all across the country aren't copying this is beyond me, because it's obviously very, very popular. If you want to try something new, do something like Mom Donnie did. Have an actual plan. Have an actual place where that money comes from. The lazy campaigning of Spencer Pratt of, we already spend enough money, we'll just fix the problem. It's not going to work. But I liked this about rent freezes in New York. And I think this would be very, very beneficial in LA. Raise your hand if you're in LA or in Southern California where the rent is crazy.
You talk about freezing rent. Is that something that
He refused to get home insurance and his house burned down? Oh, he didn't have homeowners insurance, but he couldn't afford it? Oh, he lost it in the Paradise Campfire? My aunt lost her house in that fire. She had insurance, though. It was actually a good deal. They were trying to sell their house, and it was not going to sell. They made because it was a weird house, and they made out like bandits there.
you talk about freezing rent? Is that something that you view as a bold new thing, or, as you've also mentioned, something that the mayor has the power to do that past administrations have done?
I think it's a mixture, and that this clearly has precedent. We saw the previous administration did this 3 times, and we are living in a time of politics where politicians try to convince the public that there's nothing they can do. And so to even have the idea that we could actually help people, it's seen as a departure from what so many are being told in this moment. And freezing the rent, right? This is about 2.5 million New Yorkers in a city of 8.5 million. The mayor has the power to freeze their rent.
Yeah, these are easy things. Freeze the rent. It's not like these landlords have adjustable rate mortgages, right? They're paying what they paid. Some of them, maybe their property is paid off. If they're making a profit now, why can't you freeze the rent? What's the problem with that? Do we have a good argument? Do we have Republicans here yet? Is there a good argument as to why you can't freeze the rent? Why the government shouldn't be allowed to freeze the rent? Sorry, Stacey. That's my bad. Spencer Pratt also made Heidi get 10 surgeries all at once. Unrecognizable. I raise the rent when repairs and taxes go up. Makes sense. Just looking. I believe the entirety of their argument is that's woke and gay. What did we get? Been watching Candace Owens? Not fair. Yeah. Pratt also spends so much money on crystal stones and tries to sell them as something fancy. So I like government control. That's not government control. That's government protection. The government's job is to protect you. Is that not the role of the government, the RA? Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare? Is that not what they're supposed to do? So when capitalism goes too far, who would step in and protect us? We don't need protection. Just let the rich people be in charge. Why would you give up? Why would we ever talk about like giving up government control? Those are the people we vote for. That's their entire job, is to make sure that we're safe and that the bills are paid. In what world? It's a business? The government's a business? Where has rent freeze worked? In New York City. Works all the time. Why would it not work? Why would a rent freeze not work? That's a better question, Jamie. Like, where hasn't it worked? Yeah, could you point to a place where it didn't work? They just do that. This is like the brain dead politics of the right, though. They do this. They're like, where has it not worked? And you say New York City, and they're like, New York City's a mess. Okay, but how is that? Like, how's it a mess because of the rent freeze? Thank you, Neely. I'm with you on that. I think you should be embarrassed, Rob, that you do this. I honestly do. And I think we need to just shame people who bootlick for billionaires all the time and bootlick for capitalism. What's like, you're just arguing against yourself. I need things to be harder for me so people can make more money. Hadn't worked in the USSR. Do they have rent freezes in the USSR? You can't even own your home there, right? Also, I guess the USSR doesn't exist anymore, but why would I invest in the property with a rent freeze? You don't. The property is already owned. And they're already making money. Dean, this is why I think maybe you're not an investor. I think maybe you don't know this. And if the rent was frozen and you were buying a property, and let's say your mortgage on it was going to be $10,000 a month was your mortgage, and let's say that your receipts on that building were going to be $9,000, you wouldn't buy that building, right? So what would happen to that building? They'd lower the price. How come supply and demand only works one way? Why can't you control supply and demand? If you can't sell it and have a $10,000 mortgage, well, then you need to lower the price so you have a $8,000 mortgage, and then you can make money on it. Why does it always have to be in the hands of the rich people? See what I mean? Like when I say you guys just give up all of your power to rich people all the time. Brad also went bankrupt multiple times. Great. Yeah. He's right up Trump's alley. He just is Trump. Say it, Chrissy, been a member for 16 months. Thank you. Just a reminder, guys, we do have a members-only event on Wednesday, and it helps a ton when we have paid members. So I appreciate all of our paid members here. If you're a paid member right now, hit the emojis in the chat. But thank you guys so much. And then just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. I'll update the gift goal here in a minute, but we do rely on your generosity to keep things going, and I appreciate you in advance. Let's go over to Maria Bartiromo's show, which I'm pretty sure has now just become the testing ground for Republicans to trot out their talking point and get a reaction. This is Kevin Hassett here. One of the things that this administration is facing currently is that consumer sentiment is at a record low, like record low. That's bad. That means the consumers don't think things are going well. And I want you to pay attention to Kevin Hassett's response here, because consumers are saying it's not going well. Does anybody think that it's going well, that prices are in a good spot? Does any of you feel confident going forward with our economy? Any of you feel confident with your wages keeping up with inflation? I think at this point, the only thing we can really look at is the stock market, which is an absolute fucking Ponzi scheme. But let's hear what their response to this is, because this is what they have to trot out. They can't admit that they fucked up. And that's true, generally speaking, with politicians. And it's one of the reasons that, like, when a politician starts doing that, you need to get rid of that politician on either side of the aisle. If they come out and they start telling you that what you're feeling isn't real, it's time for them to go. But it also is a signal that their party is fucked. I can't think of a time when the politicians went out and said, like, things are actually going well when they were going poorly, and then they weren't fucked immediately. Like the next election, they were just out. MAGA is dead. And this is why.
Consumer sentiment fell for the third straight month. In the month of May, it was at a record low of 44.8. The Iran conflict unnerving people, fueling some worries about inflation as higher costs and elevated oil prices show up in people's pocketbook. What is the most important messaging that you can put out there for consumers to help sentiment here?
Well, they call it consumer sentiment, but I don't think those words mean what they think they mean anymore.
Okay, so we're going to redefine this. Just you tell me if what he's about to say here is truly what they mean by consumer sentiment. Jennifer said, for the climactic finish in your watermelon vid. Thanks. I got very wet in my face.
We looked at the political affiliation of the people who were responding, and we found that, like, at the peak of Biden's stagflation, with inflation running out of control, that Democrats in the survey had a sentiment index that was way above 100. Right now, they're at 30-something. And then...
Yeah, why is that? Because we were at 9% inflation. And there was real progress being made. Whether, like, there was, I don't even know why they say stagflation. I don't know. It was coming down. But when you see inflation at 9%, then 8, then 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, then 3, you can legitimately look at that and honestly say, yeah, I think that we're headed in the right direction. We dealt with this the entire time during the election, talking to Republicans, and Republicans do it to this day. They keep saying 9%. They never bring up that it was like 2.8 when Trump took office. Was it 2.8, 2.9, something like that? They never say that. It's always 9%. It's just like it's a cult. But this makes sense. What he says there is like consumer sentiment being high, going from 9% to 2.8%. Of course, people would be feeling like it's headed in the right direction. You might not feel super comfortable, but consumer sentiment is we're moving in the right direction. We saw the Inflation Reduction Act reduce inflation. We saw the Chips and Science Act bring more jobs. Those things happened. For all the failures of the Biden administration, those two things were happening. You could point to them and you could say, we're headed in the right direction. What are you going to look at here? Like, what part of this administration makes you feel like economically we're headed in the right direction? Inflation's up. Wages are stagnant. Inflation is outpacing wages. Take-home pay is less at all-time lows. We're seeing record high, not record high, but we're seeing an uptick in unemployment. We have record amounts of Americans adding to their debt every single month. Yeah, the stock market, that's about it, which is going to crash. All these gains that people have made in the stock market, unless they time them perfectly, it's going to crash. Those are going to be wiped out.
Republicans have stayed relatively steady throughout, but we find that basically the consumer sentiment indicator at the University of Michigan is just a political survey. And in fact, the correlation between what independents say and Democrats say is 0.8 or 0.9. It's almost exactly perfectly correlated.
Oh, interesting. So the Democrats and the independents both feel the same way, and Republicans are the only ones that don't seem to be living in reality. Keep going with that message. K-Dog, I would love for you to respond to a single thing I said without deflecting to the Democrats. Do you want to talk about this, K-Dog? You want to talk about this, please? We're not talking about Ilhan Omar right now, and we'll go ahead and be liberal with the mute button on you today. Stay on topic. Do you want to address any of this stuff? You're an adult human being on the internet. Can you just address this stuff and not deflect to Ilhan Omar? Thanks.
So what they've done is they've somehow devised a political survey that tells us how Democrats are feeling about things.
The surveys are lying, guys. Everything's going really well. It's just that the surveys are lying. Here is now about affordability. And again, I really do think that Maria Bartiromo's entire job now is to be a testing ground for Republican talking points. And I think that the Republicans really trust Kevin Hassett to give them the talking point, because this is what you'll hear. You'll hear this from Republicans now. K-Dog will be saying the same shit here in a minute. You're talking about Republicans? Yeah, we're talking about Republicans, K-Dog. That's how conversations work, right? K-Dog, if I was telling you about this taco place I went to eat, you wouldn't then immediately start talking about a pizza place you went to. We'd talk about the tacos. And then when it's time to talk about Democrats, we would do that. Or you would host your own live and you would go talk about Democrats. But the thing that we would all appreciate is you being an adult human being who has had a conversation before and talking about the things we're talking about here.
But are you worried about affordability right now, Kevin? I mean, when you look at the price of groceries and insurance and housing and all the rest, a couple months away from the midterms?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The price of gas has got to come down. That we've got to continue to do things like make sure that all the grocery stores aren't closing because of stupid rules about refrigerators. We've got to do all the.
Excuse me, what the fuck? What? Does anybody know what he's talking about there? Anybody have a grocery store in your town that's closing because of refrigerators? Some rule about refrigerators? We look this up. Grocery stores closing for refrigerators? Does anybody have any idea? Oh, K-Dog says, I can conversate about whatever I want. That's the freedom I have as an American. It's not the freedom you have here, though. K-Dog, enjoy your 5-minute mute. Mods, whichever one gets to him first, give him 5 minutes. This isn't America, my friend. This is RT-Piastan, and we are an authoritarian dictatorship here. So you talk about what we want you to talk about, and you can disagree, but you got to stay on topic. So enjoy your 5 minutes. Where was this? No grocery stores are currently closing due solely to refrigerator rules. Concerns arose from a previous EPA regulations aimed at phasing out potent greenhouse gases. Hydrofluorocarbons. Independent grocers had warned that these costly equipment overhauls would lead to store closures and food deserts. However, the EPA then loosened the mandates. Okay, so none of them closed. They just threatened to. Oh, so it was just capitalists being whiny bitches. We shouldn't have to have clean air. We need our stores to be, we have to make record profits. Okay, cool.
above to get prices back down. We are 100% concerned about affordability, but we're doing micro things and macro things to make sure that.
Also, Sophia said, when there's nothing but high stock market, it will end up crashing one day. What happens then? A recession happens. Bingo, bango, bongo.
Inflation goes down, and I think that when you watch how steady core has been, then you see that our efforts are being successful. Like, we could do better going forward, especially if we get gas prices down. But inflation's coming down.
He says this all the time. You see how steady core inflation is. And core inflation takes out gas. And the reason that core inflation has stayed steady and the reason they take out gas and point to core inflation is because core inflation happens on a delay when gas prices go up. So we will see core inflation, and this is the big fucking lie. This is an economist here. He knows that he's lying right now. The inflation that we're going to see from gas prices is down the road. It affects supply chains less quickly than it affects like the gas at the pump. You've seen it. Like, Trump can make an announcement and the gas stations all raise their prices the next day. But when we're talking about going through a supply chain, this stuff takes time because they've already paid for the fuel. They've already factored this in the supply chain. A lot of these things are already being delivered. They've already been paid for. You're not going to go back then and reprice something that's already been purchased and go to the person who purchased it and say, you have to pay me more. This is simple, like, basic economics. I'm not an economist, but this is like basic stuff that you learned if you took any sort of economics class ever. The supply chain increases will happen later, but that's why they always talk about core, because it takes out gas. And then when core raises, what they'll do is they'll be like, yeah, core inflation went up, but that was because of the gas prices, but we have gas prices back down now. This is just kicking the can down the road. But when core goes up down the road, they're just going to say, oh, we already fixed that. That doesn't make any of you guys upset. Republicans, I wish K-Dog was a K-Dog. If you're listening when you come back, tell us why it doesn't bother you that they do shit like this.
Inflation's coming down. It's lower than it was when President Trump took office, and it's in the right trajectory once we get energy.
It's also not lower. Core is not lower than when Trump took office. Core is at 3%. It was at 2.8 when he took office. No, I'm not saying gas is down. I'm saying gas will go down when the war ends in Iran.
Prices going in the right way.
Well, look, but are you worried about?
All right. There's another lie. Just be ready for that. That's what they're going to say. But I wanted to show this. CNN put together this montage of just as a reminder to your Republicans is that they do this. It's always like, oh, it's almost over. It's almost over. It's almost over. This is a montage of Republicans saying, oh, gas prices are on their way back down. We're at 449. A month ago it was at 410. Before the war, average was 298. If we want to go look at the Iran war costs, where are we at now? I think it was at $42 billion on Friday. When $47 billion is what Americans have paid now. $47 billion. This isn't taxpayer money. This isn't what we spent on the war in Iran. This is separate. This is how much it has cost American consumers since the war started. $47 billion. And on gas alone, $26 billion. That's $204 per household. That's not good. You hope it goes up to 8? Of course you do. Yeah, of course you do. As long as Trump is president, we will suck his dick.
Well, according to AAA, the price of gas is $4.49 this morning. That's still up more than $1.50 since the war began. But according to President Trump and members of his administration, those prices are going to come down quickly as soon as the war is over.
Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved,
May 26th. It was March 10th.
Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly.
We promise.
Which is also a lie. They will not drop rapidly. They will remain high for a while these countries restore their depleted oil reserves.
That when this conflict draws to a close, when this operation draws to a close,
it's March 18th there, May 26th.
We're going to see those energy prices come back down to reality.
Oh, they would go down quite a bit. You know, if we see a pathway to have the Straits of Hormuz open soon and energy flowing again, you'd see energy prices drop pretty significantly. Prices have likely peaked and they'll start going.
Oh, word? They peaked on April 19th? What were gas prices on April 19th? By the way, this is the energy secretary, right? This is Chris Wright. This is the guy, this is the expert from the Trump administration. Or gas prices on April 19th. Let's see. Why their website's moving slow today. Sorry, I got to scroll way down. Where are we looking at? Unleaded. April 19th. 417. Yeah, 417. And that was right after, I think that was after one of the fake ceasefires that we've had. Where Trump's like, the war's over, and the price dropped. Because if you look the week before that was 425. So this must have been accompanied by an announcement from Trump. And then the next week it was back to 425, then 458, 462, 462. Yeah. Did they peak? Nah.
Down. Certainly with a resolution of this conflict, you'll see prices go down. Prices across the board on energy prices will go down.
The gas will go down. As soon as the war's over, it'll drop like a rock.
Again, lie. It's not going to drop like a rock. Wait. Will it change? Will it change any of your opinions? I hope it does. Illusion said the economic fallout from DJT's Iran war equals we're fucked. Yeah, this is going to fuck a lot of people.
To come tumbling down. There is so much oil out there. It's pent up. It's locked up in the Strait of Hormuz. When all of that stuff comes out, you're going to see prices dropping on gasoline like you've never seen.
But I am also confident on the other side of this, prices are going to come down very quickly.
They'll drop lower than they were before. As soon as it's over, you're going to see gasoline and oil drop like a rock. You're going to see oil prices plummet. They're going to come down.
Yeah. No. How much longer do you guys expect to allow yourselves to be lied to like this? Here's Kevin Hassett talking about GDP growth. Remember, they were talking about as soon as our policies kick into place, as soon as these bad Biden policies are out of the way, we're going to see explosive GDP growth like you've never seen. A couple things. One, like the stock market, GDP growth doesn't matter that much to any of us. GDP growth can be good. It can be irrelevant. It can be bad. It just depends on what is driving GDP growth. We'll talk a little bit here soon about productivity and the way that they measure productivity and the way that they measure GDP. Like if NVIDIA is making a ton of money, let's say they make up 15% of our GDP. Let's just say that they do. How does that help any of you? It doesn't really, right? So 6% GDP growth would be cool, but it depends on how we get to that 6%. It depends on if it is being dispersed, if it's affecting all of us, or if it's all going to one place. The problem that we have with our economy in general right now is when we're looking at GDP and we're looking at the stock market and we're celebrating these highs, we're like, yeah, but it's only affecting a few people. The stock market's fake and gamed. I see what you did there. Oh my.
That is good to see where specifically the jobs and the build out is happening. But I mean, is that going to lead us to 6% growth? I mean, Kevin, the last time you and I spoke, you told me that you were expecting GDP growth to go 4 or 5, and then you said north of 6% later this year once the Iran conflict wraps up. Are you still expecting that? I mean, how do you get to north of 6%?
Well, I can tell you that if you say and
Gabriel, it was a joke. Fake and gamed is like what Candace Owens always says. Everything is fake and gay. It was just a joke there, Gabriel.
Right now, even Economist magazine, everybody's writing stories about the productivity miracle. And we're seeing productivity numbers unlike anything we've seen before. That gets you about 2.5% growth.
So I went and I read this. This is from The Economist, and I can't show you here because it's behind a paywall. But he cited this this article from The Economist called like the miracle of GDP growth. Let me pull up just like the bullet points I had here. Let's see if I can find it. Is it different? Might be here. Here it is. It depends on how you're measuring productivity. So in this, they were measuring productivity using like a multi-factor equation. And what they do is they take the output, which is the output of the company, right? And the output is basically your revenue, right? And they combine that by hours worked, labor, and capital. So you could see, like, if you're talking about a productivity boom, like they're talking about, what is the one thing that we have seen heavy investment in since Trump took office? AI, right? And they're taking that capital and they're counting that capital investment as productivity. So when you look at these numbers now, and it's a terrible article by The Economist. Basically, what they're saying is we are losing jobs, people are being replaced, and so these companies are more productive because they're able to rely on either enhanced manufacturing, or they've just fired a bunch of workers, and so they're making more money, and they're also getting a bunch of capital investment. That doesn't benefit all of you. It just benefits those companies. And that's what's wrong with how this administration looks at economics. They look at it, it's just a top line number. And the people that pay them and the people that they hear from every day are like, hey, we really appreciate what you're doing. This is the best president ever. Look at us billionaires being more billionary. But it's not helping the general public. That's fine if you want to measure productivity in that way, but it doesn't measure how well the economy is doing for us. It doesn't measure how safe and secure people are. So when they cited this, when he said that, first of all, the headline's ridiculous. What did we say? Like the miracle of, what is it? Here, let me pull it back up. What is it? The America's experiencing a productivity miracle. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're just firing people. They're using AI, they're using advanced manufacturing, and they're getting record investment. And that's not actually making us more productive just on paper because of the way that they measure productivity. They're saying, like, well, we've never been more productive.
We're seeing productivity numbers unlike anything we've seen before. That gets you about 2.5% growth, and that's probably undermeasured. Before you have more inputs, before you have more capital or more labor, and so then the question is, how much extra growth are you going to get from building factories? Well, that's actually really clearly in the data. We just had March that was one of the best months ever for capital goods orders.
See that? They talk about the factories like they're going to create jobs. Factories that they're talking about, where are they? I don't know where they are. I see data centers. 50% of those data center jobs have been either postponed or canceled entirely. I don't know where these big manufacturing centers are. But did you notice what he did there? He talks about manufacturing, and then what?
Well, that's actually really clearly in the data. We just had March that was one of the best months ever for capital goods orders.
Oh, rich people are pouring more capital into it. Cool. How does that help us? This shouldn't make anybody happy that's watching Fox News, but they don't know what he's saying. They just know that he's saying everything's good. They're like, oh, everything's good.
And so if you get
capital goods orders, I don't even know. Yeah, thank you. Whatever the fuck that is.
Say 1.5% out of that, then you're starting even before you get labor's contribution to growth at 4%. And I think there's been a little bit of pent-up demand because of uncertainty. You see that, for example, when people are worried about energy prices. One of the places that you see it is that they hold up buying a new car because they're not sure whether they want to get the truck that's their dream car but has low miles per gallon, or whether they need to get like the Prius or a hybrid that has high miles per gallon. They're really worried about the cost of gasoline and what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so the actual consumers are frozen. He's just admitting, like, they're just doing it on TV. They're like, yeah, everybody's kind of fucked. Like, consumers can't buy anything. Remember, his argument before was that consumer sentiment was actually up and not down, and the polls were all, as Candace Owens said, fake and gay. And now he's like, oh, nobody's buying anything because they're worried about the prices. So they're kind of frozen in place. At the same time, making the argument that these capital investments are raising productivity. This is all over the place. It's incoherent. And it would be really fucking cool if anybody at Fox Business was just like, hey, man, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Can you please explain how you're taking both sides of this argument and acting like it's good? Phoenix said, we need a fell for it again award for MAGA. We'd go bankrupt. We'd give that out every single day. And they'd all have like thousands of fell for it again awards. Sonny said they could help the economy by axing the tariffs. Yeah, but then that would drop revenues, right? So they can't drop revenues either. So they have to keep the tariffs in because they cut taxes, and they need revenues to come in to the government to pay our bills. So they're just taxing the middle class.
What happens is that purchases of automobiles drop a lot when that happens, and we're seeing that in the data right now. But imagine if this is resolved, people have clarity, they make the decision based on what's best for them. All that kind of pent-up demand is going to...
Yeah, imagine if this self-inflicted war that doesn't make any fucking sense just ended, and then people could be clear on this. Yeah, just end it then. You just end it.
On top of the numbers that I talked about. So I really do think you could see a quarter like that. And it's not unprecedented. The last time we saw an economy that looked like this was in the 90s, when all of a sudden the internet was changing everything.
All right. There we go. What are you guys? Are you guys arguing about percentage of how much inflation is caused by tariffs? Colin, thank you very much for the $5 super chat there. And just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded, so anything you can do to help us knock out that gift goal would be greatly appreciated. There's super chats, obviously. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App take a smaller percentage. So if you have one of those apps, we would prefer that. If not, super chats are great. Thank you guys in advance. All right, I think I had maybe 2 more clips from this. One, yeah, I want to take this clip. This is Senator Dave McCormick. This one just made me laugh. This isn't Maria Bartiromo, but Dave McCormick is asked about Congress has taken a break and they're all going back and they're seeing their constituents. And so they're coming on Fox News, and Fox News is asking them, like, what are your constituents saying? You can tell that they're with their constituents because they don't have the tie on. They're relaxed. They're the everyman. And fair question. They said, like, what do you hear from constituents that are dealing with higher gas prices and wondering if this is going to end? You tell me if this guy is a cucky cult bitch to Donald Trump, or if he gives a goddamn about his constituents, because this feels like he just blows Donald Trump instead.
What did you hear over Memorial Day weekend from your constituents in Pennsylvania that are dealing with higher gas prices and wondering when or if this is going to end in a good way?
Well, the president didn't get to choose when he was going to take this action. It was essentially the result of a growing risk.
He didn't get to choose when he took this action. Guys, Trump didn't have a choice. He had to do that. But they asked about gas prices. Remember, let's hear the question again. The default setting of MAGA is to take any question and glaze Donald Trump instead.
Wondering when or if this is going to end in a good way.
Well, the president didn't get to choose when he was going to take this action. It was essentially the result of a growing risk from Iran, and unfortunately, past presidents hadn't dealt with it, and this needed to be dealt with. So I applaud him for having the strength to do that. From a political,
he's so strong, guys. He's so strong for bombing Iran. He's so brave. I mean, he did dodge the war by faking injuries, and he's a giant pussy most of the time. But he was so brave by getting our military to bomb Iran on behalf of Israel. So consumers that are worried about high gas prices just know that Donald Trump he had no choice. Are we gonna discuss your constituents at some point, Dave?
Political perspective, I think we all agree, including the president, that it would be best to get in and out as soon as possible. There's no doubt that folks in Pennsylvania are feeling the pressure of gas prices going up by about $1.25, and that's putting real pressure on working families. But the alternative of Iran with
good question. Oh, my glaze like a cake, is that a good thing or bad? No, glaze like they see Donald Trump and they start beating off and they have a bukkake party on his face. That's what I mean by glaze.
The nuclear weapon that could threaten America or its kids, which was very likely to happen under President Trump's regime.
What? Uh-oh. What was that there?
It was very likely to happen under President Trump's regime.
Regime. They all know it. You all know it. We all know it. Everybody knows that we're just like cucked out to Donald Trump. That's a big whoopsie there, wasn't it? You were asked about your constituents, and you talked about how great Donald Trump is instead.
Administration, if we hadn't taken action, I think is an unacceptable alternative for anybody. And so I think that's the situation we're in.
I think it was an acceptable alternative to not bomb Iran. They weren't causing us any problems, and now everything's really fucking expensive, and we're wasting money and murdering innocent people. I think it was a perfectly acceptable solution to do like every president before Donald Trump had done and not bomb Iran on behalf of Israel.
And I know the president's very committed to trying to bring an end to this as soon as possible. We all
very committed. So committed that he's told us it was ending about 50 billion fucking times, and then it never is. And then last thing from Fox News, Doug Burgum, who is, what is his? Doug Burgum is Secretary of the Interior, but big oil guy. Loves being. He's been getting absolutely eviscerated in Congress lately. If you've watched, he keeps trotting out the same line when they ask him about like energy production and why cutting solar and wind is a good idea. And he's like, because the wind doesn't blow when it doesn't blow, and the sun doesn't shine when it doesn't shine. And they keep being like, have you heard of batteries? And he just goes quiet. And he just keeps trotting out that same line, because you don't have to make sense when you're part of this administration. You just have to keep lying. That's all anybody ever cares about, is like, just keep lying. The MAGA voters are all fucking idiots. They're like, we really don't care if things get substantially worse, as long as long as we keep worshiping Donald Trump, as long as we're empowered. They don't care. So Doug Burgum then is, of course, asked about the Pope. The Pope said that AI could make civilization less human, which makes perfect sense, because AI is not human. And if you build robots and you use AI, those aren't humans. So if the world adopted more AI, it would be less human. That's a very sensible thing. So naturally, Doug Burgum, Secretary of the Interior, was asked to go after a religious leader. And the only reason they're asking this is because the religious leader disagrees with Trump, and Trump is their religious leader. Trump, if Jesus showed up tomorrow and said, I don't really like what Trump's doing, all the Christians would be like, that's not the real Jesus. I don't like, I used to really like Jesus. I'm not really in on Jesus anymore. Jesus needs to stick to religion and stay out of politics. There's nothing you can do to criticize Donald Trump. Doesn't matter who it is. That's a sensible criticism, to say that AI makes the world less human. The internet has made the world less human. Social media has made the world less human. There's a lot of people who legitimately cannot interact with other human beings without being incredibly awkward. It's just a real thing that's happening.
Leo, this weekend, issuing a major document Monday focused largely on the implications of the rise of artificial intelligence. The Pope saying that this technology could make civilization less human. Why is the Pope commenting about AI right now?
Well, I didn't know that was I didn't know that tech editorializing was part of the role of being Pope, but it is a.
I didn't know that editorializing about the Pope was part of the role of the Secretary of the Interior, but here we are.
Was part of the role of being Pope, but it is a. But certainly some of these states that have got very high electricity prices today, and they've got high electricity prices today because of the policies they pursued with trying to go with energy.
I'm sorry, are our high energy prices due to the pursuit of solar and wind energy, or is it because our dumbass president drug us into a war with Iran for no fucking reason? I've seen a lot of economists take on this, and none of them say, actually, the war has nothing to do with this. It's all that solar and wind energy that we invested in. That's for sure what it is.
Unreliable, weather-dependent sources of electricity.
Yes,
We've got to get back to baseload power to make this whole thing work. But the future is very bright if we can make sure we can get this stuff built.
Secretary, we're watching your work. Certainly, it is such a moment in time. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, sir.
Gabriel, what you said, let's see what states with the highest energy prices. I would venture, and you've been talking about, we're doing that, highest energy costs. I'll pull that up. Now, you've been talking about economics, and I've seen some of the stuff you say. You have it, it's hard to know what your expertise is here, but you understand supply and demand, right? Would a higher population and a higher demand for energy make a state have higher energy costs? It's out of curiosity. Let's talk about this. This is a MAGA brain politics. No expertise. Okay, but enough that you understand supply and demand, right? I'm assuming. All right. So this is cents per kilowatt hour. California, obviously number one. Known Democrat state, Alaska, pretty high. Hawaii, really high. DC, New York, Maine. Now, Maine's represented by a Republican in the Senate. I'd say that's blue. Michigan, Wisconsin. Aren't those MAGA states now? Pennsylvania? Aren't those MAGA states now? Michigan and Pennsylvania? Ohio's pretty high there. That's pretty MAGA. Yeah, population matters, right? What are the most populated states? California, New York. Texas is different. Texas is fortunate because Texas drills a lot of oil there. They also keep taxes really low. They've also invested heavily in renewable energy. Like if we do this, like which states have the most renewable energy generation? Let's say per capita. Let's see what that pulls up. Washington, which is look how much cheaper Washington is in the Pacific Northwest. They have they do a lot of hydroelectric. What's that dam? The Grand Coulee Dam up there in Grand Coulee, Washington. They have a ton of hydroelectricity, over 100 terawatt hours of renewable energy annually, which gives it the highest per capita renewable generation rate in the country. So just compare it to Oregon, to California, and I mean, they have pretty high taxes. It's down. South Dakota, which is where Doug Burgum is from, they have the highest share of second highest share of renewable energy generation in the nation. 81.6% of South Dakota's energy is renewable. Idaho, over here, 65% of its total energy generation is from hydroelectric power. They have on the Snake River, I forget what it's called. And then Vermont, which is not a real state, almost 100% of its electricity is from renewable sources, mostly hydro and solar. They're 21.5. Now, if you want to talk about the most total renewable energy volume, it's Texas and it's California. But Texas has benefited massively. I'm going to show you some stuff with Don Jr.'s crypto mining facility in Texas, and you'll notice something interesting there. So, yes, cost of living in blue states is generally higher. They're more populated, or they have a higher population density. So you just got to understand like basic economics. It's a really oversimplistic way to measure a state by saying like, oh, who controls the legislature, red or blue? Like it's cheap in Idaho, and you would think, oh, it must be cheap in Idaho because they don't use renewable energy, but that would be wrong. Pretty cheap in South Dakota, it must be because of or they don't use renewable energy. Wrong. Texas, you would say the price must be because they don't use renewable energy, but they all do. It's not as black and white as simple like red versus blue, right? You know, policies that fight it like New York, Michigan, and California. Fight what? Cost of living by state? Sure, but what does that have to do with energy? That's what we were talking about, right? Why are we going to cost of living by state? It's all the places nobody wants to live. Arkansas, Mississippi, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Louisiana, North Dakota. Like these are the least populated states. Arkansas, Mississippi, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Louisiana, North Dakota, Iowa, West Virginia, Kansas, Alabama. Let's keep going down the list. Watch what happens. Like you'll see Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, Kentucky, Wyoming, Idaho, Missouri, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee. We're moving to all these low populated states: Wisconsin, South Carolina, North Carolina, Michigan, Utah, Vermont, Georgia, Nevada, Maine, Texas. Texas number 30. That's not great. Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Illinois, Delaware, Virginia, Arizona, Colorado, Rhode Island, Alaska, Florida. Florida's number 40. Connecticut, Maryland, Oregon, New Hampshire, New York, Massachusetts, Washington, Hawaii, New Jersey, California. What do they all have in common? Population density and supply and demand issues when it comes to housing. It's pretty simple stuff. It's just basic economics. It's really dumb to be like red state versus blue state. What costs more? I knew we were going to Amy here. Amy said cost is higher in Washington, but we also have highest disposable income of any state. Poverty is lower in Democrat-run states as well as government dependency. That is true. Yeah. I do love Massachusetts. I love the spirit of Massachusetts, which is, of course, the spirit of America, the spirit of what's old and what's new. We love the state of Massachusetts. All right, moving on. I want to talk. It's 11 o'clock. Okay, we'll get to it. I want to talk a little bit about this. Some of the meeting of the minds. I don't remember where this was, but it was Stephen Walt, Mike Pompeo and John Mearsheimer, and I can't remember the other guys, and they're just debating. This was on Monk Debates, debating the Iran war. You'll see this is Mike Pompeo, who you may not recognize because he has GLP-1'd himself into an entirely different person. Look up Mike Pompeo from your on your phone, and you'll see it's a completely different person. But they're debating the Iran war, and I want to highlight this because what the Republicans say, like this new Republican Party that was anti-war and it's so new, they are just all exactly Dick Cheney. And Mike Pompeo is Dick Cheney with GLP-1s, and he's also alive. That's the main differences between the two of them. But they have the same policies. This is just Bush era attack everybody in the Middle East. And Stephen Waltz absolutely destroys him here.
Human decency demands you don't let a radical regime close off the global economy by firing Shahed missiles into nations that did nothing. Right, they're firing into civilians in the United Arab Emirates even just this week. That's just not something that the world can accept. And so this monster is worthy of the hunt.
You do know, Mike, that we started the war.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, no.
We didn't start this war? Who started this war if we didn't?
They weren't firing those missiles until Israel and the United States attacked Iran. You do understand.
Welcome to 1979, when the revolutionary regime began to kill Europeans.
Now watch this argument evolve. And I want you to remember this part, 1979, because I'm going to show you some other debates that happened this weekend. And it's clear that this is just the story that they're telling now. And everybody's repeating the same shit. It starts at 1979. That's when the history in Iran starts. And if you go past 1979, well, then that was too long ago. If you go up into the 2000s, oh, well, that's not now. It's interesting to watch Republicans say we have to stay in the moment for any criticism, and for any justification, they're willing to go all the way back to 1979. But the answer here is brilliant.
1979, when the revolutionary regime began to kill Europeans.
You do know that we overthrew the democratically elected government in 1954.
Just for the record, you were talking about this.
You don't think you think Iran's forgotten about that?
No, I suspect they've not.
You don't think Iran remembers that we supported Saddam Hussein in the Iran-Iraq war?
I know
forgotten about this?
I know this.
Other countries have history.
Do you think Iran is a monster?
No.
Okay.
I agree. And it's pathetic. That's what this administration resorts to now. Oh, Iran's just bad, so we should kill them. Are they? Are they that bad? In comparison, are they a monster? He's going to have a good answer here. What makes them a monster that doesn't make Israel a monster? What makes them a monster that doesn't make us a monster? Why are they so much more monstrous than everybody else?
I don't think they're I'm glad I don't live there. I think many countries do many bad things, including my own. And I wouldn't call the United States a monster.
But Stephen, do you also remember that we wouldn't have had October 7th if we hadn't had Iranian support for Hamas?
I agree.
Prove that. I'd love somebody to prove that. Prove that. They support and fund all the terrorist organizations. So do we, Gabriel. We support Israel. Israel is a terrorist organization. We funded Iran. We've done this too. We do it too. It's embarrassing. They literally fund Hamas. We literally fund Israel. What Hamas did on October 7th, it doesn't hold a candle to what Israel did to the Gaza Strip. We don't now? Oh, we don't still support, oh, we don't support Iran now? No, we support other terrorist organizations instead. This is fucking embarrassing for America. It honestly is. Like, this is how polarized we've become and how binary we've become. We are the worst, dude. Gabriel, we are the worst. Israel didn't do terrorism. Israel doesn't do no terrorism, guys. They only do the nice things. They don't ever do anything bad. Why are they bombing Lebanon right now, Gabriel? Can you explain that? How come every time we have a peace negotiation with the Iranians, Israel winds up bombing where the negotiations are? That's not terrorism? What about that genocide they did? It's like, you have to be completely blind to look at this situation and be like, Iran's the bad guys, we're the good guys. It's pathetic. We bombed them. They didn't attack us. They did nothing to us. But there's some people there that chanted death to America. Cool. Our Secretary of Defense said kill all Muslims. Yes, it's a genocide, Gabriel Mack. What's your expertise, by the way? What's your expertise here? Because the experts on genocide say it's a genocide. It's not because I don't like them.
We wouldn't have had October 7th if we'd gotten peace in the Middle East, and that's a much longer story.
It is, and every single U.S. president has.
Yeah, none. Go check some. Go look it up. Go look it up, Gabriel Mack. Go look at the amount of experts on genocide who call it a genocide in Gaza. Don't just say it's not because you've heard somebody say it's not.
Tried and will continue to.
Not very hard.
But it is very important to emphasize there's no evidence that Iran even knew about October 7th, much less
Oh my
caused it.
goodness! Oh my.
Notice the answer here. Notice the answer here. There's no evidence that Iran even knew about the attack on October 7th. Do they have an answer?
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I'm sure it is lovely to live where you live and believe that.
There's no evidence
Oh
in the
my
public
goodness.
record of that.
Oh my goodness!
No answer. Gabriel, it's a stupid argument to say, we know where you're going. Hey, Gabriel, this isn't your argument anyways. You're just repeating arguments and you know that. What you're saying is, what's their population? Then we're going to discuss how many people died. And you're going to say, well, since they didn't annihilate everybody in the Gaza Strip, it is therefore not a genocide. A genocide does not need to be complete and total annihilation of a population. It doesn't. That's not what constitutes a genocide. That's something that you hear dumb fucks like Andrew Wilson and Ben Shapiro say, and you're just repeating it now. This is a Tim Pool argument. It's irrelevant. You don't have to get rid of everybody, but they're continuing to do it. Riddle me this: name one time in human history that other humans cared about a genocide being carried out against other human beings. Now, the Holocaust. Two good ones. Not everybody, but there's people that care. Imagine still being pro-Israel at this point. Gabriel, you got to let that shit go, man. That one's an embarrassing one. You're like in the 30% of this country who still thinks that this was a justified war. Here's Mearsheimer here, and I agree with this. We've clearly lost this war. Not in the way that you would normally lose a war, but we have no ability to do anything.
The United States has lost this war. It can't figure out how to solve this war. And it's going to have enormously negative consequences for all of you. You should understand that. We are in deep trouble in Iran. And this is what happens when you go around the world slaying monsters.
No reason we should be there, none whatsoever. But I want to give this, I found this clip, a quick history lesson from Mehdi Hassan, who we love. And Gabriel, stop researching for a second, and I want you to listen to this history lesson. And for anybody here who still supports Israel and still thinks that like Iran is the bad guy, we're the good guy, Israel's the good guy, just a quick, it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I won't even interrupt. 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the history of Iran and Israel.
Everyone in Iran can tell you about what happened in 1953.
No, you're not, Gabriel. You're not using, sorry, let me turn this up. You are not using a word that I incorrectly used. Before we do this real quick, what definition are you doing on genocide? Genocide is the deliberate and systematic attempt to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. In whole or in part. Have they in part attacked an ethnic, racial, or religious group? Yes. Does our Secretary of Defense say kill all Muslims? Yes. Have we helped them? Yes. And it's thank you. It's also attempt. Thank you, Benny Boy. The deliberate and systematic attempt. This is deliberate. I'm sorry. Guys, I'm sorry. Good point, Gabriel. This wasn't intentional. Israel wasn't intentionally carpet bombing Gaza. It was an accident. They pushed the wrong button. It was just an accident. It was just an accident. They didn't really carpet bomb Gaza, for sure. I'm sorry. You're right. Totally not a genocide. Anyways, here's a history lesson.
Everyone in Iran can tell you about what happened in 1953. In America, nobody knows what happened in 1953.
So tell us what happened. 1953.
Mohammad Mossadegh is the prime minister of Iran, democratically elected.
Nationalized oil.
Nationalizes the oil, kicks out foreigners.
So the CIA overthrows him.
You want to hear a really good bit?
Sure.
Who do they ally with? They ally with the mullahs, the ayatollahs, the clerics against this secular communist, leftist Mossadegh, ironically. The same people we've now demonized for the last 46 years.
So why is the Ayatollah in power? Us. Why did we put the Ayatollah in power? We need capitalism. Capitalism so very important that we need to kill world leaders. Why? Because they had left democratically elected world leaders. Other countries speak. Their population speaks. And then we decapitate their leadership. And then we're like, we're here for you. The fuck we are.
Who are in power. And they bring back the Shah. Shah is this fantastically corrupt and autocratic ruler, has a secret police called Savak, tortures and kills people, but lets women wear miniskirts and everyone's can be, free in that way. It was a horrible period from 1953 to 1979, which helps bring about the revolution. But it was a revolution that wasn't just Islamic. It had secularists and leftists and communists, but the Islamic part of it consolidated and crushed the rest of it, Ayatollah Khomeini. But we start in 79. We don't talk about the coup in 1953. Everyone in Iran knows about the coup in 1953. We also don't talk about what happened after 1979. The moment they come to power, we supported who? Saddam Hussein, to invade Iran and carry out the Iran-Iraq war, 8-year-long war in which Saddam used chemical weapons against Iranians, chemical weapons provided by Brits, French, Americans. Donald Rumsfeld goes to meet with Saddam in the 80s to support him in his war. We shoot down their airliner. We shoot down flight 655, I think it was.
Yeah. Chip said, mate, we funded Osama bin Laden in the 90s. Fact.
SS Vincennes.
Yes.
Shoots down, kills over...
This is in 1988.
This is 1988, towards the end of the Iran-Iraq war. We shoot them down, I think, over international waters.
The United States this afternoon acknowledged that a missile from an American ship in the Persian Gulf shot down accidentally an Iran Air passenger plane with 290 people on board. All of those people, passengers and crew, believed to have died in the...
Would anybody believe if Iran shot down the plane that was an accident? No. But when we do things, we just accidentally bombed that girl's school. It's always an accident when we do it because we're so pure. It wasn't me said for the baby MAGA voice. It's so perfect.
Crash.
Oh, dead. We had him, got it. That was a dead on.
Looked like it to us, and then the guy was there, and then he was gone. We gave that guy his wish. He went to see Allah. I didn't see a parachute in the plane either.
George H.W. Bush, Vice President at the time, says, I will never apologize for the United States.
Well, furthermore, the guy who did it got a medal, the Legion of Merit.
Yes. So we blow up their airliner. We support Saddam Hussein attacking them. Yes. And before the revolution, we support bringing back the Shah and topple their debris. And then we say, why do they hate us?
Why do they not want us to be around anymore? Probably because we murder them a lot. Kind of what we do. Phoenix said, we overthrew the Iranian leader because BP Oil didn't want an audit on the money they were giving to Iran for the oil they drilled from Iran. I do think that was probably, that was likely part of it. I think you could draw that conclusion pretty easily. All right. Jumping on. Just a reminder here, we do need to, I'll try and cruise. We got about 2 hours left. We are, again, crowdfunded, so anything you can do to help us knock out the remaining balance of that gift goal would be greatly appreciated. Jillian Michaels had a debate with Sam Cedar. It was absolute chaos. I didn't even show it because she spent the entire time playing clips of the Majority Report making fun of her. And so I didn't feel like there was any. In fact, it took me like 3 times to even get all the way through the debate. It was pathetic. But then she went on with Matan. And Matan, if you know who this guy is, he was kind of been an internet troll, but he's really taken a stand against, and he loves embarrassing Zionists. Jillian Michaels is absolutely a Zionist. Sometimes she pretends that she's not a Zionist. I don't know why. And I wanted to show this because, 1, she gives a dumb answer, but 2, this answer seems to be working its way through MAGA content creators. And we do know that Israel is paying MAGA content creators and giving them their talking points. And what they've landed on now is they no longer can defend what Israel has done. They no longer can defend that Israel's just like bombing Lebanon. They continue to murder Palestinians. They've got these roving gangs of Zionists who are obviously protected by the IDF, who are just going through and removing people from their homes. What they've done in Iran with negotiations, like, it's indefensible now. So now what they're being told is, hey, don't defend it. Just say we're not the only bad ones. But Matan was having none of this. And I thought this was a great interview.
Opinion. You said common sense. It is my political opinion. Is absolutely a teller of where somebody stands. Be specific. What's your political opinion? On which issue? Israel. Honestly, I don't think Israel is the root of all evil. I'm sorry. You don't
I'm tired of her laugh. It's such a tell that this is a rehearsed answer. I remember Candace Owens went on Rogan one time, and he asked her about climate change. And she's like, we don't have to worry about climate change. Not even a little bit. And then when she was pressed, it turned out she didn't have details. And it was just a way to deflect. And this is a tell from Jillian Michaels every time she gets cornered. She just laughs and goes, it's not that bad. Everybody's bad. But Martin is relentless here.
Mind Israel?
I don't mind Israel. Here's my position on Israel. Everything that people take umbrage with Israel, I completely appreciate and understand, but I just wish they would apply those standards unilaterally. So if you're pissed off about money in politics, then you should also be pissed off about Saudi and Qatar and China and all those other lobbies.
We are. You're not. We consistently talk about how the Qataris and the Saudis and the UAE are just giving Trump bags of cash. It was us that said, hey, maybe the Qataris shouldn't be allowed to give him a jet. It's us who say perhaps they shouldn't be able to give his son-in-law $2 billion. We are just as critical of them, but for different reasons. Now, can somebody tell me what the Qatari lobby is? Who they're lobbying? As far as I know, the Qataris that had lobbyists work in the Trump administration. You had Pam Bondi and Susie Wiles, two registered lobbyists for Qatar, work for the Trump administration. Well, we've been critical of that too. But what I don't see is Qatari lobbyists like infiltrating the Democratic Party. There might be some, I don't know. But we are critical of that. She's not critical of any of them. But what she wants to do is, she said, I'm not even concerned about Israel. What do you mean you're not concerned about Israel? They stole our nuclear weapons program. They have nuclear weapons that they lied to us about. And the reason that they lied to us about it is because they're not allowed to have them, and we're not allowed to be partners with them in any way if they have nuclear weapons without signing a nuclear proliferation agreement, which they won't sign. So we just pretend that they didn't steal our nuclear ideas and that they don't have nuclear weapons so that we can keep defending them. We break all of the rules for them. It's clear that they're able to control elections. You just ran out Thomas Massey. Was that the Qataris? Was that the Saudis? No. But we are heavily critical of all of them. You know who's not critical of any of them? MAGA. Because it's the MAGA politicians that are getting paid for this.
Apply it unilaterally. If you're pissed off about the wall between Israel and Palestine, that's totally fine, but you should also be pissed off.
That's not what we're upset about. We're not upset about the wall. We're upset about the genocide.
About the wall between Palestine and Egypt and
Scott, I say, yeah, my concerns lie with Trump and the Republicans. Who are the Qatari lobbyists in the Democrat Party? I have a problem with the Democrats who are supported by AIPAC. We're regularly critical of Chuck Schumer, of Hakeem Jeffries, of Elise Stefanik. We're regularly critical. Anybody that's AIPAC, fuck them. We're regularly critical, but I don't know. I'm not saying that there's no Democrats that are getting Qatari and Saudi money. I just don't know of any. So if you bring one up, I'll gladly disavow them. But this isn't her real point. She's not really saying this because this is what she believes. She's saying this so she doesn't have to criticize Israel.
Drowning Palestinians in tunnels with their own excrement. Just apply it evenly. That's all I ask. Call something that you think is bad.
Sounds like you're just finding a way to justify it. Saying these guys also do bad things.
I think it's all terrible. I don't want to see anyone
So
die.
you think Israel is terrible, but other people are too?
I don't think Israel is terrible.
You said it's all terrible.
I think when someone dies, it's terrible.
You see what I mean when I say you're not really willing to say anything?
I just told you what I think. I'm telling you what I think.
This is the most telling laugh. Ask her what she thinks about Iran. Murderous, terrorist regime that kill people. What about Israel? They're just like everybody else. Oh, you don't want to talk about the murders?
I do not
You're
want...
like the perfect example of an old school conservative that just won't say nothing.
I'm an old school liberal.
She got that from Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin always says he's an old school liberal, which apparently means a Dick Cheney Republican.
You don't know. You don't even know. That's what I mean.
That's what I mean. That's what
an old school. No, an old school conservative is Dick Cheney. It's like a rhino.
Yeah, you have the same positions as Dick Cheney. You have the exact same fucking positions as Dick Cheney, except for Dick Cheney wasn't like anti-vax.
You seem pretty pro-war.
You think?
Yeah, that's how you come off.
Really?
You just defended Israel for like 5 minutes.
I did not. I said.
Pretty much.
Good point. Electric Dad, Pam Bondi worked for the Qataris. Yeah, that was her job. Same with Susie Wiles.
Said I want people to apply their standards unilaterally.
What about you?
And you said that it's all terrible.
People dying, I think, is terrible.
Even if it's Israel's fault? You see how you're not willing to go there? There's like you have like a muzzle on.
Here's what I would say. I think what happened on October 7th was hideous. And when
I didn't ask about October 7th.
But they don't go.
Isn't that crazy? She is pathetically owned by Israel. Here's what I will say. Hamas is bad. Oh, that's big of you. That's mighty big of you. Why is Jillian Michaels even relevant? Because this is what the Republican Party does. We probably need to bring this up. She's more relevant to the national conversation than virtually any Republican in Congress. They're all just Donald Trump's bitches. This is Israel paying her, and like if you look at her views, just so we're clear, like she makes. If you look at her revenue, she makes millions of dollars. She gets basically the same views I do. We don't make anywhere near millions of. I can tell you how much YouTube paid us last month in ad revenue. It was less than $500. And she's going to go into that here in a second. But like, she is getting paid by somebody. She makes an insane amount of money.
Hand in hand?
Well, if I asked about it, then I'd expect an answer there.
All right. Well, my opinion is, I think that was horrible. I wish that didn't happen, obviously. And I wish that everything proceeding. No.
This is bizarre. Isn't that laugh fucking bizarre? What's she laughing at?
After that did not happen.
No, Gabriel, I'm talking about her revenue from YouTube, not her money that she makes outside of YouTube. I'm talking about her revenue from YouTube.
As well.
That's a real laugh. That's not out of like that, right? That's a real one. Something's very funny happening.
I'm telling you the truth, honey. I don't think that they're the root of all evil. I do think that horrible.
Did I mention she's Middle Eastern? I didn't know that. I don't know anything about Jillian Michaels doesn't sound like a Middle Eastern last name. Is her mom from the Middle East?
Things happen, and I think both sides have done things to each other throughout history. I'm certainly not an expert on it.
Are they a sponsor of your podcast?
They are not, but I'm more than willing to open up the books.
You would let them?
Would let them sponsor the No, open up the books for an audit. How much money are we talking, though, actually?
Would you let APAC sponsor you?
If it's not $30, I might.
She would let Israel sponsor her podcast, right? Everybody's equal. They're all bad. But Israel could sponsor my podcast. Do you think she would let Iran sponsor her podcast? It's so embarrassing. I hope this ends her. She had a bad week.
How much?
How many views do you get per show?
It depends. Sometimes it's only like 50,000. But sometimes it's a couple 100,000. So
what does it average out at?
How much do you think I can make? Hold on. If I pull analytics, give me 1 second. You tell me. You're better at this than me. Give me a sec. You tell me how much.
Let's see. Her last, she put out okay, that was today. Let's see. I probably need to look at her actual full shows rather than clips if we want to look at this. Where's her full show? Okay, so she had one, a full show with Chase Hughes. It got 29,000 views. She had one with Dave Rubin. It got 38,000 views. Hers with Sam Cedar got 116,000 views. So yeah, she's not putting up huge numbers. She did one with, I don't know who this guy is, Luis Elizondo, something about aliens. That got 126,000 views. Yeah, so her views aren't massive.
Where's my studio app? Okay, here we go.
Her father's Lebanese. Is that real? Syrian and Lebanese? Holy shit, I didn't know that.
How much do I get? You're going to tell me something. See, if it's only $30, I'm not going to do it. If it's like $3 million.
It's like 75.
$75?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to. No.
But you're already doing all the stuff they want. They're basically just throwing you $75.
Nah. still don't think so.
They say we appreciate all you say about Israel. All we want to do is just give you money. We know you're going to keep doing it anyways.
Well, yeah, but then there's a paper.
Is there any principles for is there a principled conservative content creator that we could start listening to so we could figure out what your guys' principles are? Is there one? Do any of them have principles at all? Or are they all just puppets? Leanne said, nice work on the watermelon. Thank you. Cam said, sent you the proof squirt. Cam, that was not proof. I'll show Cam's proof at the end of the show.
Trail. I don't want that.
I mean, there's also like a video trail from right now.
Yeah, but now you know that what I tell you is authentic. If they pay me, then it compromises the authenticity. And I don't think
I just said they could pay you for it.
I don't know that it's
Andrew Wilson has principles. I will actually say that Andrew Wilson does have principles. They're just fucked up. That's probably true.
Authentic. I'm actually hoping for you that it isn't. I'm hoping there's like a reason that you have to say this.
There's not.
Otherwise, you're completely screwed.
Okay. You have such terrible incentives. You want $30? No, I don't want $30. Just told you I'm a millionaire. What's wrong with you?
And how much money do you...
Yeah, how painful is this? How long do I think Martin will continue to support Trump? Does he support anybody? It's an act. Does he support anybody?
Like nowadays, is he kind of coming down or is he stabilized or what?
Oh my God. Nowadays, much less than I used to make, unfortunately, because I'm a Zionist.
Yeah, correct. And you're fucking dumb. Those are the two reasons you make less. I'm a potato with legs, said Jillian's paternal grandparents are Lebanese and Syrian. Okay, thank you. Yeah. No, it's because you suck and you're an idiot. Sam Cedar was debating her because she said that it was a red herring that if we pulled USAID from these countries where we were providing food aid that nobody would die, and now we have like hundreds of thousands of people who are dead. And he went to debate her about that, and all she did was play clips of his staff making fun of her, which was actually hilarious. They were, and she thought he was going to apologize. He's just like, I don't care. She got annihilated there. Yeah, she gets annihilated everywhere she goes. I'm going to skip this one. Glenn Greenwald went on Jubilee, and the reason I wanted to show this is because if this isn't about like if these people aren't being paid, and this person is clearly paid, and when I say clearly paid, I mean that she's clearly trained, which means she's clearly paid. This is the exact same answer that Jillian Michaels gave with Glenn Greenwald on Surrounded, Karma and Feminists, and people with IQs above 70. Yeah, because Jillian Michaels is a fucking idiot when it comes. She might be smart on other things, but politically she's an idiot. And she was kind of a fucking piece of shit in Biggest Loser. Like that, her whole thing was just scream at people. She's not terribly bright, but politically she's an idiot.
Compared to the billions of dollars from other foreign adversaries.
Okay, sorry, to start that over here. This is the exact same argument now. We can't criticize Israel because other people get like other countries also do bad things. One thing Israel has ever done for us, and I want like serious answers. You guys can do your funny answers too, but like they always say Israel's a great ally. In what sense? What has Israel ever done for the United States? What is it that makes people say Israel is a great ally? I have no idea. What have they ever done for us?
Proportionate selective outrage with this pseudo-Israel influence, AIPAC.
Intelligence? Yeah, their intelligence is consistently wrong and drags us into wars, Gabriel. It drug us into Afghanistan, drug us into Iraq, drug us into Iran. They give us bad intelligence all the time. I don't think that's a good partner.
3.8 million compared.
Of course I don't believe the nuclear intelligence. Why do you believe the nuclear intelligence? Of course we don't believe the nuclear intelligence. They've been saying that Iran was 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon since the 90s. I don't know if you know about like time and how long a week is, but when I was 6 years old and we were in Desert Storm and Israel was like, hey, we're 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon, and fast forward, it's 2026 now. I think that was longer than 2 weeks. Their intelligence has been dog shit always. I don't understand the person who's like, oh, I trust their intelligence. Why the fuck would you trust Israeli intelligence? Because their own parliamentary chair said as much. I don't believe him. I don't believe. Why do you believe Israeli intelligence? You can watch it. He says that they were doing it. Oh, word? Cool. What about all the other times they said they were doing it? Why am I worried about their missile capabilities? Their missile capabilities couldn't reach us. I wasn't worried about that. If I was Iran, I would build missiles that could reach Israel. I would worry about the country that pointed their nukes at us. And since Trump pulled out of the Iranian nuclear agreement, that there were no restrictions on enriching uranium, I would enrich that uranium to act as a deterrent against Israel. Whether I wanted to build nukes or not, just proliferating my nuclear program and enriching my uranium to a point where it's like, hey, we could potentially get weapons, watch yourself. That's exactly what I would have done. That's exactly what any good leader would do. It's silly. Do you understand like this situation that they were put in? What do you think they should have done? The only reason they agreed to not enrich uranium is because the United States was a buffer between them and Israel. And then Trump's like, we're not a buffer anymore. And Israel's like, hey, cool, all of our nukes are pointed at you. What the fuck did you want Iran to do? What do you think was the right move there? Oh, it's okay. We'll just hang out over here. Israel never does anything bad.
Proof of that is that we don't give...
No, okay, Gabriel, I know who you're talking about. You're talking about the parliamentary speaker. And he has walked that back. He said that it was a personal opinion. When Trump shared that, he came out and said that's a personal opinion. He wasn't in power at the time, though. So now you're relying on somebody that wasn't the speaker. And he has said, when we first entered nuclear activities, our real goal was to build a bomb. No point denying it, the whole system. Everyone who started this. We had started and we wanted to go all the way. If we could keep it secret and test the bomb, it would be over. He said that in April of 2022. We bombed them in 2025 and 2026. So it seems like maybe they weren't 2 years away. And Trump shared that, and you thought, oh, this is a good reason to bomb them. And then he said, Trump has posted my interviews as it reflects the official decision of the Islamic Republic to build a nuclear bomb. It shows how empty-handed he is when he relies on the personal opinion of an ordinary individual, not an official report. That's the man who said that. The man you're quoting said, it shows how empty-handed he is when he relies on the personal opinion of an ordinary individual, not an official report. No, it didn't happen. You even read what he said. He said, when we first entered, our goal was to build a bomb. He doesn't even say that they did it. He said there's no denying it. And they started their nuclear program years ago. He said then we had the nuclear agreement with Obama when they stopped. You're going to argue with him now? Of course he would say, oh, yeah, of course he would say that. You just want to believe anything. Well, look at the original quote. The original quote doesn't even say that they had one. When we first entered nuclear activities, our real goal was to build a bomb. No point denying it, the whole system. Everyone who started this. When we had started and we wanted to go all the way. If we could keep it secret and test the bomb, it would be over. They never had a nuclear program. They never tested the bomb, or like a nuclear weapons program. They never tested the bomb. He's literally saying we didn't do it. We just wanted to. Is the host Muslim? No, I hate all religion equally. I would never be religious. It's all terrible. Guys, they're doing us a favor when we give them military equipment and they go bomb Muslims. That's the argument.
We need Israel strategically, and we are grateful to have them as a strong ally.
That is the most rehearsed, bought, and paid for answer I've ever heard in my life. That's crazy. They literally had admitted to having enough uranium to make 11 nukes. Are you dumb? One, no, they didn't. It wasn't enriched to weapons grade, but they had enough uranium that potentially, if enriched, they could make 11 nukes. And two, who the fuck cares? So if they say that, then we can bomb them? Why do we get to bomb them? We have nukes. Israel has nukes. Why does Israel get nukes? Shouldn't we bomb Israel? Israel legitimately has nuclear weapons. Why don't we bomb Israel? They're the ones that proactively attacked it. When did Iran attack Israel? October 7th, I think. Oh, it's their proxy groups. Who do you think led that staged coup in Iran? You don't think that was Israel that was behind that? Even though Israel has admitted that they staged that the United States was in on it too, that our CIA was in it. How many coups did we stage in Iran? How come all the uprisings in Iran come with the backing of Israel and the United States staging it? I mean, just think for 1 second, like pull your head out of your red, white, and blue ass and ask yourself what Iran was supposed to do. How many nukes does Israel have? We don't know, because our government pretends that they don't have them, and they won't tell us how many nukes they have. We legitimately have no. It's the only country that we do trade with that has nukes that doesn't sign on to the nuclear proliferation agreement. They just get to play by their own rules. We are so owned by Israel. Oh, we 100% are the number one state sponsor of terror. Everyone. Every uprising in every country, our CIA infiltrates every country. We decapitate governments repeatedly. We do this all the fucking... We just stole a president from another fucking country. We assassinated the leader of Iran. Israel does this all the time with our blessing. People come together to negotiate peace, and Israel bombs them and murders them. Can you imagine if, like, we took out Gaddafi? What was Gaddafi? He was a military leader. What would happen in the United States if Iran assassinated Pete Hegseth? We would annihilate their entire country. We do shit all the time that we would legitimately nuke people for. We're so much worse. I don't understand. I don't understand how you don't see this. It's just like we're so star-spangled awesome that we can't do any wrong. Yes, we're substantially worse than Iran. We're worse than Israel, but Israel's also worse than Iran. I wouldn't put Iran in the top 5. Russia's worse. China's worse. We're significantly worse. You got to wake the fuck up. Helped the people of Iran. They were being abused by their leaders, so we murdered thousands of innocent Iranians to help them out. Thank you. And we replaced their leader with a more radical leader. God, that was so nice of us to help Iran that way. We decimated their economy. We decimated their infrastructure. We killed thousands of innocent people. But that was just us helping. That's how we help. So we're the good guys.
If I say
Because
no, it's
they're an
hotter.
ally.
13 Americans dead. Thousands of innocent Iranians dead. But we're helping them.
Saying yes, we do more for Israel.
Thank you, Amy, including 164 little girls that were just hanging out at school.
Because they're an ally with good reason.
A lot
it is
of
justified.
course, they're an ally and they're an enemy. They spy on us.
We didn't murder Iranians. Ask Iranians. What do you think we've been doing? Who do you think those dead people are? What do you think happens when we bomb apartment buildings and the entire apartment complex is destroyed? You think these apartment complexes were just like full of terrorists, just all of them? You think the families of these leaders that we've assassinated, you think they weren't innocent? You guys are sad. Like really, really fucking sad. You don't know this? You don't know that we've killed thousands of Iranians? 13 Americans dead. Let's get rid of the thousands. Take out the thousands. What about the 164 people that died in a girls' school that we bombed? Do we have any criticism of Iran? Literally yesterday, they were on TV saying they need nukes as a deterrent for Israel. I agree. They do need, like, that's what they should do. Yes. Why do they need nukes as a deterrent for Israel? Because Israel has nukes. We should... If the United States wants peace in the Middle East, there's a really fucking simple solution for all of this. Go stand in front of Israel and say, knock it the fuck off. And we're taking all your nukes. You don't get nukes. And we warn any country, hey, if you attack Israel, we attack you. And we tell Israel, if you attack any country, we attack you. And it's over. This is not that fucking complicated. And it's embarrassing that Americans fall for this all the time. As if we can't completely control the Middle East if we want to. Of course we can. We can wipe all of them off the map. But the problem is we keep siding with Israel, and Israel keeps escalating. And Israel doesn't want this to end. Because why? Because they want to expand. That's why when this war started, they're just like, oh, we're going to sneak into Lebanon. We're going to sneak over and we're going to take the Gaza Strip while nobody's looking. We're going to send in these roaming gangs of Zionists. This is very fucking simple. We could end it tomorrow if we weren't such cucks to Israel. This and you have to a lot of history. Oh, did they? What are those? What is the IDF doing in there? How come the IDF's running cover for these Zionists that are going all through Gaza? What'd they give back? The parts that they carpet bombed? Here, you guys can have it back now. do you mean they gave it back? They gave it. Oh, we should forgive them because they gave it back after carpet bombing. You're right. Israel's the good guy. They did a genocide. Now they're like, hey, those of you who are still alive, you can have your land back now. Oh, thanks. That's great news. Thanks, Israel. You're the good guy now. All right. That was Glenn Greenwald. Which one's this one? Yeah. Was there one more? There's one more here from Glenn Greenwald, and then we'll move on. I do want to just remind you guys we are crowdfunded. We're about an hour and 20 minutes away from being done. Maybe an hour and like 30 minutes away from being done. I started a little bit late today. But you can do Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. That's how we keep our show going every single day. We rely on the generosity of you guys to keep this going. So Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, or Super Chats. And then just a reminder, tomorrow night we've got a movie night. That's for members only. If you want to join movie night, you need to be a paid member either on YouTube or Twitch. And I think those start at about $5. Make sure you get your membership and then send JenDub1 a message on Discord. She'll get you into the Discord server and you can join us tomorrow night. If you don't want to join us for movie nights or be a paid member, you can still join the Discord in the exact same way. Message JenDub1 on Discord and she can get you into the server. This was just interesting because what Glenn Greenwald said about this and this interaction, as he said that the one thing that surprised him about going on Jubilee with MAGA diehards wasn't that some people scream and refuse to stop talking. He said it wasn't that these were mostly young people cheering and finding purpose in wars but never fighting them. It wasn't that their politics is more of a cult personality, all expected and found in all factions. It was that despite being political junkies, they had no idea about Trump's enormous corruption scandals because the corporate and independent media they consume don't mention it. And I want to talk more about Trump's corruption. And we're going to watch whoever this blonde lady is. It's going to be the MAGA in the chat, completely unaware that Trump is extremely corrupt. And we're going to predict what they say. They're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi. They're going to say all politicians are corrupt. They're going to do anything but admit that Donald Trump is corrupt in a way no president has ever been corrupt. They will deflect, just like all these people on Jubilee. Once again, in totality, Nancy Pelosi, her net worth reached $130 million before she left Congress after 175 years in Congress. Trump's net worth when he entered office was at best $1 billion. It's 6 now. It's not even close. Nobody has accelerated their wealth faster and larger than Donald Trump. It literally, it's pennies on the dollars what Nancy Pelosi did versus Trump. And the big difference is Nancy Pelosi, if an investigation's ever done, I think that what you're going to find is you're going to find trades that were made with insider information that she had. And it's going to be pretty clear that even though there was a barrier between her and the stock trader, which was her husband, it's going to be pretty clear that she did some insider trading. What you're going to see from Trump is not only insider trading, but then you're also going to see him going to those businesses, making announcements at those businesses. He's going to be tweeting out their stock symbol and then also just billions of dollars in cash handed to him by foreign countries. It's not even fucking close. Prove it? Stay tuned, bud. We'll prove it. This is what the chat is like. Every time we bring this up, they do the same thing. Oh, sweetheart. Oh, you're dumb. Oh, you're lying. You guys ever going to look into this? Let's talk about Eric Trump real quick. We've talked about Hunter Biden. We played the Hunter Biden interview. Remember when Hunter Biden last week on Friday, we covered it. He went in front of Candace Owens. They had a whole interview. Candace Owens couldn't poke a hole in any of his stories. She just basically agreed, yeah, you didn't really break any rules except for you didn't pay your taxes and you had a gun when you shouldn't have. That's what he did. He was late paying his taxes, which Trump has done. Trump's been fined many times not paying his taxes to the tune of like $100 million. But let's talk about Eric Trump here. Let's talk about Eric Trump's business, how this is going.
A brand new report out, Dan, as part of the other focus that's going on here of the incredible financial gain that Trump, his friends, and his family have experienced this administration. You've done incredible reporting on it. You now have a new report where you conclude that
Tanya said, let's finish this gift goal. Thank you, Tanya.
Eric Trump's Bitcoin business, it's called American Bitcoin, is making him a whole lot richer, even as the company investors are losing money. So I guess let's just look at it this way from your reporting, Dan. How much money do you say Eric Trump has made off of this company alone?
Well, I'm estimating that Eric Trump's personal net worth has gone up about $90 million from just this one company to about $280 million. And that's happening.
Now, a lot of you might say, well, that's fine. He's a private businessman. He's making money. But the people who invested in his company are down $500 million. How is it that the company that you're ahead of, the investors are down $500 million and you're up $90 million? How does that happen?
Happened at a time when the value of the company, since it went public, is down about $12 billion. And if you isolate just sort of the everyday traders who got involved with it because they were excited about the sales pitch at the start, it looks like they've lost about $500 million.
That is incredible.
Did you hear it went from 90 to 280? That's the total amount that they're up, not his own personal. But let's talk. Here's the actual company. It's called American Bitcoin. Forbes did a great piece on this. But one, tell me what the utility of Bitcoin is, please. Two, tell me what expertise Eric Trump has in Bitcoin. The reason that they wanted Eric Trump as part of this company is because Eric Trump has access to his dad's dumbass fan base. The same fan base that's down $500 million because they don't recognize a pump and dump scheme when it's right in front of them. But here's American Bitcoin.
When they first started construction, like what's going on?
That happens in investments. That's why it's an investment. It also happens in Ponzi schemes and criminal behavior, which is why people go to jail. So it can be both. Dude, you're getting, Gabriel, I kind of liked you at first, but it's getting pathetic, your dick riding. It honestly is. You haven't even watched this yet. You've already decided you're going to defend this already. If your investors come in late, if all the late investors get fucked and all the early investors make the money, what is that? Ponzi scheme. At the very least, it's a fraud. What they do is they get in early, and then they pump this idea, and all these investors come in, and all the early investors are selling on their way up, and then they pump and they dump. And all of their liquidity is protected. First money in, or last money in, first money out. Every one of them. We are 4 seconds into the video, and you're like, oh, I'm going to say that this is not fraud. Bitcoin is a fucking scam. It's always been a scam. It's not real. There's nothing real about Bitcoin. There's almost no utility. It's as real as if I took this is a little sweet kitty that my daughter got. I could just tell you that I'm going to mass produce, I'm going to make 1 million of these. And each one of these is worth 1 cent. And if we buy up 1 million of these, and there's a lot of demand for these, and say 50 million people want these, but there's only 1 million available, they're not going to be worth 1 cent anymore, right? They're going to be worth what people pay for them. And every time somebody pays more for it, the value goes up. That's fucking stupid. It's really fucking stupid that people are making that much money on this. Is as useful as Bitcoin. If this was worth $100,000, just like a Bitcoin, it would actually be easier for me to sell this. I get cash. But it is as useful as actual cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a big fucking scam. No, it's not an NFT. An NFT is a piece of digital art. But NFTs and Bitcoin really aren't that different. What's the utility of either of them? There is no utility. They're collectibles at best. What is Bitcoin if it's not a collectible? What's the difference between if I invest in sports cards and Bitcoin? The blockchain, you can invest in sports cards on the blockchain. They have digital sports cards. The value goes up when more people want it, right? It's the exact same. It's just speculative. There's no rhyme or there's a reason that regular currency, like the value of the dollar, doesn't react the same way Bitcoin does. There's a reason currencies don't fluctuate that way. Because this isn't a real currency. It's just being called a currency. It's not the same with the dollar. The dollar doesn't have near that type of fluctuation. Not even close.
Out there?
Outside the small rural town of Vega, Texas, lies a 17,000 server Bitcoin mining operation.
What are all these things here in Texas? What are all these? They must be giving everybody cancer right here. How come Eric Trump's Bitcoin mining facility has windmills? What's going on with that? No, Eric isn't the only one making money in the company. The other founders are also making money. All the early investors are making money, and they're making money on the backs of gullible investors, and that's why they wanted Eric Trump, to bring in a bunch of dummies who would dump money in this because they think everything Trump does turns to gold. And they'll sit there and lose all their money and be like, these Trumps are great at business. No, they just stole from you.
I have pictures. You want to see the pictures?
This particular facility has ties to one of the country's most influential families.
They'd probably love to be able to tell that story to people that don't live here, that Eric was coming. This is Trump country.
Hey friends, Eric Trump. Welcome to American Bitcoin. This is something I believe in more than just about anything else in my life.
Eric Trump has been a main player in his family's crypto ventures.
I realized how fragile the financial institutions were in this country. I realized how punitive the financial institutions were in this country. And I fell in love with this new era of finance.
As the Trump family's...
But stop calling it finance. This has nothing to do. Anybody who believes that the reason the Trumps got into Bitcoin is because, what was it, Chase Bank, I think, like debanked them. You're just like wanting to be scammed. That's not why they're in Bitcoin. They're in Bitcoin so that they can run pump and dump schemes, so they can just be the scammers.
Wealth surges during President Trump's second term. I wanted to understand why Eric Trump is mining Bitcoin and how vast the Trump crypto empire has become.
Wait, mining Bitcoin, for anybody who knows, basically these servers are going out there, and they're solving code, and there's Bitcoin out there that or pieces of Bitcoin that you can go, and through mining you can acquire that Bitcoin. I think the ownership is kind of like in limbo, right? And so they use these massive servers, and they're solving complex blockchains, and when you get that Bitcoin, it's yours now, which is another crazy thing. It's like a finders keepers. So this entire operation is just going out and finding basically abandoned or forgotten about Bitcoin, and they're using all this power to line their own pockets. That's, I think, the easiest way I can explain it. Somebody more technical could probably explain it in a better way, but that's the most simplistic version I can give.
The rules are only 21 million Bitcoin ever. That's it. Every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that get released gets cut in half.
Asher Canute is the chairman of American Bitcoin, Eric Trump's Bitcoin mining and holding company that went public in September 2025.
So if you run the math, that's why in 2140, you'll get to 21 million Bitcoin, and then that's it. That's the amount of Bitcoin that's out there.
The cryptocurrency has exploded in value in the more than 15 years since its launch. In data centers like this, servers process payments between Bitcoin users. In exchange for lending their computing power, companies like American Bitcoin are rewarded with Bitcoin as currency.
We mine about 8 to 10 Bitcoin a day. Monetarily, we're talking about thousands of dollars or so forth, and tens of thousands.
Who owns these servers? In this case, American Bitcoin. His company is the one that owns these servers. They also own the Bitcoin that they mine. They get to keep that.
In this facility, 5 football...
By the way, can we just honestly, there's, and I think it was Gabriel that said this. There's 21 billion Bitcoin. It all needs to be mined. Can we just point out that this is a fucking treasure hunt? That Bitcoin is like an elaborate treasure hunt? It's a fucking game. Why in the goddamn does this make sense to people? Gotta catch them out. It's Pokemon Go. This is a fucking game. And he's increased his net worth by $90 million here off of a fucking game that doesn't benefit anybody. And it's sucking up power. It's sucking up resources. It's sucking up energy. Bitcoin didn't exist before. It doesn't need to exist now. All of this stuff is fucking pointless. It is so fucking stupid that this even exists. There is no reason that any of this shit should exist. To the people in Texas, it's raising energy prices. To the other people who have Bitcoin who might want to invest, it raises those prices. It will increase inflation. It'll increase costs of goods. It increases housing prices. The trickle down effects of this, because if somebody cashes out their Bitcoin and suddenly there's 30 million in the market, it devalues the other currency potentially, or devalues the currency or the buying power of wherever you're injecting that 30 million into. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Not even Pokemon catching strays. At least Pokemon's they say it's a game. This is stupid. It's fucking stupid that you have to mine Bitcoin.
Fields in length is designed to catch.
Electric Dad said, "Where's all the employees in there?" Doesn't seem to be they're mining. They've got their pickaxes. They're in there mining. Jamar said, "Hi, I'm a watermelon, and I want to give you some more Bruce's." Thank you.
On Bitcoin's skyrocketing price.
Have you been to this facility before? Yeah, actually, my first time here. This is brand new for us. Yeah, and we're building multiple different facilities, and we have mining all over the place, and we're growing and growing and growing.
Eric Trump and Ganut first met in Southern Florida through mutual friends.
And I was telling a bit more of what we were doing and building at Hut 8, and
Rob, cool use of big words there. It was gibberish what you just said. The American dollar stopped existing in 1971. That's not true. It still exists. This punk is an astroturf propagandist, whatever the fuck you mean by that. The new Democrat narrative is leveling data centers, the new boogeyman, then at beads to be investigated. No, I'm just pointing out that this is an obvious scam. We're just pointing out that it's a scam here. This is every fucking crypto bro in the world. They learn new like talking points, and it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Like just argue with the point here. Why does this fucking exist? Why do we have to, like, why would mining exist like this? Why would we create something like Bitcoin that requires this much energy to mine? It's stupid. It's really fucking stupid.
Really jammed over actually building real physical infrastructure. And I showed them photos of this facility, of other facilities that we have. And I was like, this is what our intentions are.
They said, listen, we're already doing the data.
Why do major banks invest in it? Because they can make money, because they can manipulate it, Gabriel. Why didn't they invest in it early on? Because they couldn't manipulate it. Why do they invest now? Because they can manipulate it. Is that your proof? If major banks invest in it, it must not be a scam. Oh, word. For sure. Remember that one time we had an entire housing bubble, and it was like 200x. Like you took these mortgage bonds, and you package, or these mortgages, and you packaged them all together in bonds, and then you could invest in those mortgage bonds, and then they created synthetic CDOs on top, like collateralized debt obligations on top of those, and then for the amount of mortgages that we had in this country, we had 200x that amount bet on those mortgages, and then when it went belly up, our whole fucking economy tanked, and all of the world's economy tanked because of those stupid fucking bets. Why did the banks do that? They made that shit up. They'll do anything to make money. Are you backing the banks? Like, I'm surprised that you would think this is a scam if JP Morgan is in on it. JP Morgan is a totally legitimate institution. They never do anything wrong. Bro, you're on the side of the big banks? Yeah, they know what they're doing. And you know what they're also going to do? They're going to exit it. And they're going to exit it early. Before it crashes, they will exit, and it'll be all of you, the retail investors, that are left hanging, holding the bag, just like it was with the American homeowners. Who got fucked when the housing market crashed? All the homeowners. Who did great? The rich people. The market crashed, they bought up all the houses, the stocks crashed, they bought up all the stocks, and they rode the recovery. And all the people who had like their equity tied up in their home, or they had their liquidity tied up in a 401k or investments, their investments went to zero, and they didn't have any cash on hand. They didn't have any money to go buy stocks or buy a new house. So they lost everything, and the rich people took it all. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're using this to just like siphon money.
Concept. And you love Bitcoin. We love Bitcoin. We believe in Bitcoin.
Legislators made those more. Yeah, for sure. Legislators made synthetic CDOs. Jesus Christ, Gabriel. What are you? How do you operate with like, how do you have like every billionaire's dick in your mouth? Just like all the power structures, Gabriel's like, I'll suck that dick, and I'll suck that dick, and I'll suck that dick. Big bank, give it to me. Oh, thanks, big banking, for destroying the housing market. Let's just blame Congress. You clearly don't know what a synthetic CDO is. Congress would not create a synthetic CDO. They don't have the ability to create a synthetic CDO. They had oversight of the banks, or I guess they fund oversight of the banks, and the oversight wasn't being done. But it takes a real fucking dyed-in-the-wool, dick-sucking capitalist to be like, actually, I blame Congress for the financial collapse. Come on, man. Stop sucking their dick, please. You've sucked the wrong dick on every, like, Israel, give me that dick. Donald Trump, give me that dick. Bitcoin, give me that dick. You've been on the wrong side of literally everything today, just like sucking the dick of powerful people.
We use Hut 8's infrastructure.
It's not how it happened, Gabriel. That is not how it happened. You think that Congress invented synthetic CDOs? Tell me what a synthetic CDO is. You think Congress invented a type of investment that took, basically you take a package of mortgages and then you can bet on that, and they're like, actually, now I'm going to bet that mortgage bond fails. And the original mortgage bond, it's like you could get 3-to-1 on your money if you said that mortgage bond would fail. And then a synthetic CDO is a bet on the bet. So you're not even betting on the mortgages anymore. You're betting on the person who made the bet that the synthetic CDO or that the CDO would crash. Now you've got a synthetic CDO. Now you're betting on that bet. And then so you're going to get 10-to-1 odds. And then somebody's like, I want to bet on the bet that was 10-to-1 odds. And you give 20-to-1 odds. And then somebody says, I want to bet on the bet for 20-to-1 odds. And you get 30-to-1 odds. And then somebody said, I'm going to bet on the bet that gives you 40-to-1 odds. You think Congress created that? No. No, it was the corrupt bankers that did that. Congress just allowed them to bet 200x. Like and it's not even Congress allowed them. They just didn't ever make any rules. They were asleep at the wheel. But you can blame Congress for not doing its regulatory duty, which is true. But you can't say that they invented it. The bankers invented it. That's why Congress has to be up on this shit. That's why crypto shouldn't be legal. It's an obvious fucking scam. Why, like, do you know who spent the most in the 2024 election? Crypto companies. Why? So there's no legislation because they want to keep running their scam. Why would they spend billions of dollars on elections if it was just legitimate? Because they're all the scammers. Take that dick out of your mouth, man. One dick at a time you can take out, but maybe the first dick to take out of your mouth should be the crypto people.
It is Gnute's other company, which operates data centers, power plants, and had a long-standing Bitcoin mining business. When Gnute and Trump decided to go into business together in March of 2025, Hut 8 cleaved off a portion of its Bitcoin mining arm to set up a new entity with Eric Trump. They called it American Bitcoin. Though its holdings are still smaller than Hut 8's, American Bitcoin has amassed one of the biggest hoards of Bitcoin on a public company's balance sheet, mainly through selling its stock to buy crypto. And as of early January, the new company had about $500 million worth of Bitcoin on its balance sheet, enabling it to vault into the top 20 of the largest Bitcoin digital asset treasuries, a type of crypto financial play in which companies raise money by issuing debt and equity and then use that cash to buy crypto for their balance sheets. The business relies on the assumption that investors will buy the treasury company's stock to profit from the digital assets without owning them directly. The financial play became popular last year, but investor enthusiasm for these particular types of companies has waned. While some in crypto still believe there's a place for digital asset treasuries that hold Bitcoin, there's also a growing portion of the industry who believe that the model, which was once profitable, isn't sustainable.
Virtual reality, don't come in here and pump your dumbass companies.
Well, guys, the Ondo's really the next generation. The stock market's all going to go digital.
If that's what they say, please stop pumping your dumb fucking companies here.
Over the long term. Hut 8 was around a market cap of 1.2 billion. Now the combined market cap of both companies was around 8 or 9 as of like market close on Friday. Is that just the Trump effect?
No, I mean, Hut 8 owns about $1 billion of Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And we own a gigawatt of assets that we operate today. And then I think American Bitcoin, if we think about it, a company that was started April 1st of this year. And the first
I was asked to include crypto into my investments and I refused. Good move.
Quarter we released, we did over $60 million of revenue at a 56% margin. I mean, that's better than some companies that have been around for 10 plus years.
Hut 8 still operates this data center, owns the land, and employs the technechnions. But American Bitcoin owns the tens of thousands of servers that generate the crypto.
We're the actual data center technicians. We do this stuff all day. It should start blinking here any second now.
Eric Trump first got interested in crypto around 2021, following the end of his father's first term in office. It was around then, when Donald Trump was facing mounting legal and financial hurdles, that Eric says major banks started closing his family's accounts.
I have become the most debanked human being in the history of debanked human beings.
Debanking is a term used to describe when banks deny customers access to financial services.
That's actually pretty fucking crazy to say that he's the most debanked human being. The mafia, they just had like a bank or a couple of banks say, we don't want to do business with you anymore because your family tried to overthrow the government.
I have unbelievable assets, have great cash flow, never had a default, never have a breach of any covenant. But because my father was wearing a hat that said, make America great again, they want to pull our accounts. Capital One pulled our accounts. JP Morgan pulled our accounts. Bank of America pulled our accounts.
All three banks have denied that they closed customer accounts because of political stances and would not comment on Eric Trump's specific allegations. In general, banks say they weigh a variety of factors when closing accounts, including financial, regulatory, and legal risks.
We don't debank people because of political, religious affiliations.
Losing their accounts at major banks prompted the Trumps to expand beyond real estate.
Gabriel, listen, bud. Sorry to pause that again. Stop trying to blame Congress. The Gramm-Leach Billy Act, not Bailey, Billy Act, was 1999. And it was about consumer protections. It did not cause the financial collapse of 2008. What caused the financial collapse of 2008 is over-leveraging bets on collateralized debt obligations. Stop. Like, you're making a fool of yourself right now. Honestly, you are. This is so fucking easy to understand because these CDOs were in everybody's portfolios. Everybody's. The requirements from the Gramm-Leach Billy Act were not what caused the financial collapse. And you do this like this is like more capitalism dick sucking. What you're trying to say, I think, is that allowed these people to expand, which is not true. That didn't allow them to expand into synthetic CDOs. But again, like the people that actually did the scamming, you won't blame. You just blame Congress for letting people do the scamming. Like, it's just stupid. It's just fucking stupid. Find one fucking economist, Gabriel, who says that the housing collapse of 2008 wasn't caused by the over leveraging of CDOs. Find one prominent economist. Stop. I think you might be like chat GPTing some shit right now, but that was remarkably stupid. So in 1991 or 99, excuse me, the Gramm-Leach Billy Act, which basically like protects consumers' sensitive financial data. And there was like financial privacy rules that caused the financial collapse of 2008 for sure, dude, for sure.
To digital currencies.
Crypto is worldwide. Crypto is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Go to JP Morgan. Go try and get a loan from them. You're gonna have to go through this and you're gonna have to go through that. And crypto doesn't have any of that. Crypto gives you transparency, it gives you efficiency.
In 2024, Eric announced the launch of his first crypto business, World Liberty Financial.
We certainly went into crypto in a very, very
This is a competing currency against the U.S. dollar. The president's sons and the president compete against the value of your dollar. Cool.
way. It was certainly in reaction to everything that those big banks had done to us.
And despite the president's previous criticisms,
Bitcoin.
Cato Institute. Let's see what the Cato Institute says. I wouldn't necessarily say the Cato Institute is a great source, but Cato Institute. Who does the Cato or what does the Cato Institute blame the financial crash of 2008 on? I'm unfamiliar with their claim. Let's see. Government intervention in the housing market, misguided Federal Reserve monetary policies, and a flawed regulatory framework that incentivized excess risk taking. Yeah, that's pretty on brand for the Cato Institute. So they blame the government for not catching the criminals. I blame the criminals first, which are the banks. But they say that scholars at Cato, such as Peter Wallison, argue that the root of the crisis was the federal push for affordable housing. By forcing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to acquire massive volumes of risky, low-quality subprime mortgages, the government artificially inflated the housing bubble. Now, I don't think that I would disagree with that because it wasn't they didn't force Fannie and Freddie to acquire risky, low-quality subprime mortgages. They just relaxed all the standards. It was deregulation. They were allowing, across the board, they were allowing people to get loans on houses without income verification, with low FICO scores, with no jobs. It was Republicans deregulating, like always. Every financial crash starts with deregulation. They also say they blame the Federal Reserve for keeping interest rates too low for too long between 2002 and 2005. I think you could say that was part of it for sure. Rather than blaming a lack of regulation, Cato emphasizes that existing government regulations created a moral hazard because financial institutions believed the government would step in to save them. Oh, that's what it was. There was a moral hazard because the financial institutions thought the government would save them. They were encouraged to take on much higher risks with mortgage-backed securities. For sure, yeah, it was the government's fault that they took on these risky bets because they believed. This is pretty shitty even for Cato. Yeah. Oh. That was sad for you. That was a sad one for you. You shouldn't have brought up Cato. That's embarrassing. That's what the Cato Institute does, though. They never blame the criminals. It's just always the government. They always think like you should, they want the government to deregulate. And then as soon as the government doesn't regulate enough, they're like, see, the government didn't regulate.
It just seems like a scam.
Donald Trump signaled a full pivot to crypto during his 2024 bid for a second presidential term. And as crypto executive...
Oh, my bad. The deregulation was from big banks being forced to do DEI for loans. My bad. It was DEI that caused them.
Executives donated millions to his campaign.
I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world.
American Bitcoin is just one prong in the Trump family's growing crypto empire. The family has historically made its money from real estate, but according to Fortune's own analysis, over the past year and a half, the Trumps have amassed more than $3 billion on paper through a complex array of...
Gabriel, I'm not doing this with you anymore. Like, you don't understand this. You try American Enterprise Institute. Who funds that, by the way? Look that up. Again, what you're doing is what all dumb fuck conservatives do. All the people with all the power fund places like the American Enterprise Institute, and they tell you that it's the government's fault. And what's their solution to this? Deregulation, right? What caused? Like, this is simple, Gabriel. What caused it? What actually caused the collapse? It was collateralized debt obligations and a rising default rate in mortgages, which crashed the value of the collateralized debt obligation, and there were insurance contracts that paid out sometimes as high as 200 to 1 on if that would if those collateralized debt obligations would drop in value. So what happened is the banks were holding on to all of these collateralized debt obligations, which are just a bunch of mortgages packaged together, and they had taken on risky bets because the banks believed that the housing market would never crash, that they would never see default rates over 4%. And then they saw default rates over 4%, and they were over leveraged. So when the market crashed and people came calling for their money that they had invested betting against the housing market, the banks had a liquidity crisis. They didn't have the money to pay out those bets. That's why you saw Bear Stearns fall, and that's why the government had to bail them out, because the government had to pay off those bets. The banks had to pay off those bets, and that's why the government decided to bail them out. But what caused it? The banks over leveraging. Stop blaming. Like, I don't know why we do this with capitalism. We blame the government for the banks making stupid investments. Well, everybody's stupid, so the government needs to be there to protect you. Unless it's like for healthcare. Unless it's like to freeze rents. You were arguing against rent freezes earlier. Isn't it amazing how you guys will blame the government for every problem, but when it's time for the government to step in and fix a problem, then you're like, oh, the government needs to stay out of big business. All the government does is fuck it up. Maybe you think the government fucks everything up because you allow these billionaires to ram their dicks down your throat repeatedly so that you can just go toe that line. Oh, it was the government, not the big business. It's an embarrassing argument you're making right now, honestly. Of all the people I've ever debated on this is probably the worst argument I've heard, that you're just blaming the government.
Coins and companies. There's American Bitcoin, the company in Vega. Eric is a co-founder and chief strategy officer. Donald Trump Jr., Trump's eldest son, is an investor. World Liberty Financial, one of the Trump's most lucrative ventures on paper. The project has both its own cryptocurrency.
All right, let's talk about World Liberty Financial. This is a stable coin. And the way that the Trumps make money on this, and you can see all three Trump boys, Trump and the Witkoffs, the way that they make money on this is if you go buy World Liberty Financial, which is supposed to be pretty closely tied to the US dollar, you buy World Liberty Financial token, and the Trumps get a piece of that. I think it's like 3%. So every time, if you spend $100, the Trumps get $3 of that. So when Qatar and the Saudis and the UAE dump billions of dollars, Trump's getting a 3% fee on that, and he gets 70% of that fee. So it doesn't really matter the valuation here. Trump is making money on the fees. So he has a currency that competes against the US dollar. He has an investment that competes against investing in other American companies, and he picks up a 3% fee, and he gets 70% of that. That's how he's making money off of this. And this is where the corruption is obvious. If the Qatari government gives Trump $2 billion and they buy World Liberty Financial, Trump gets that 3% fee. Then if they withdraw their money, they're out 3%. And there's your bribe. And what did Trump do for these governments that sent money? He gave them access to chips from NVIDIA because because the government is controlling private business, which you guys only seem to care about when Democrats do. But the president is basically saying, I control who gets NVIDIA chips. And the only people that are getting NVIDIA chips are people who give Trump money by funneling it through World Liberty Financial. There could not be a more obvious corrupt scheme for the president to make money off of foreign policy, and we can't get you guys to care about that, which is crazy.
Stablecoin, which is like a digital dollar. President Trump and his 3 sons were listed as co-founders. Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, and his sons were also
By the way, this special envoy, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, they keep negotiating with all of these other countries. And what are these countries doing during negotiations? Funneling money into their privately owned companies. Whether it be Jared Kushner's investment company, venture capital, where he picks up a management fee. However much money is in that portfolio, he picks up a management fee. When the Saudis gave him $2 billion, that money sat in an account untouched for 2 full years. And he picked up his management fee, which is probably 3 to 5%. I don't know the exact details. Somebody could probably figure that out. It didn't do anything. Jared Kushner went and negotiated the Abraham Accords, and then the Saudis gave him $2 billion, and he just picked up that management fee every single month. These are fucking dumb-ass criminals that are doing nothing but setting up companies that allow them to profit off their dad's and friend's presidency. They're offering nothing. They're not investing the Saudis' money. Jared Kushner is not a good investor. Historically, he's a terrible investor. He had to be bailed out multiple times for overpaying for real estate. Multiple times he had to be bailed out. He's dog shit at this. But their proximity to the president allows them to just get money for literally doing nothing.
Founders. Earlier this year, World Liberty Financial applied for a federal banking license. Meme coins. President Trump and the First Lady have both promoted their own meme coins. Think cryptocurrencies whose value is often tied to the popularity of a cultural joke or notable person. Trump Media and Technology, the holding company for Truth Social and other projects, which is run by Trump advisor Devin Nunes. It's buying Bitcoin, issuing crypto ETFs, and launching its own cryptocurrency. And the 5th is the Trump Organization itself.
We have a lot of crypto on our balance sheet. We believe.
Good question, Florida Pride. Give me one example of an NGO that I would, I'm not a liberal, I'm a progressive. 2, I'm not a Democrat. And 3, I have anytime an NGO has been busted funneling money, we cover it. But it's just, this is pathetic even for you. Like, you're watching the president in real time be corrupt and you just don't care. Why the fuck would you care about an NGO more than the president? You know what an NGO can't do? Declare war. Attack other countries, set domestic policy. Why the fuck would you care more about an NGO than the president of the United States? You don't. You're just dumb as fuck. And you see corruption and you don't know how to respond to it. So you're saying NGOs. Get the Trump's dick out of your mouth too. There's 4 more dicks in your mouth, and they're all limp because they're Trump's. God damn, you guys suck dick.
Leaving cryptocurrency.
How much crypto do you have on your balance sheet?
We're a private company, so I'm not gonna mention.
Would you give me a range?
No, it's substantial.
More than 100 million?
Absolutely.
More than 500 million?
Probably.
That growth in crypto riches has coincided with Trump's second term in office, where he's pushed a series of pro-crypto measures. Trump has signed bipartisan legislation that regulates stablecoins, issued crypto-friendly executive orders, and he's pardoned several people convicted of crypto-related crimes.
Cool. So then he makes he sets the agenda for anybody who's going to be investigated for these crimes. They're just not going to be investigated. And those who committed crimes and were in jail, Trump just pardons them, and they don't have to pay back the people that they defrauded. We're going to end it there. You guys can watch the rest of that, but I want to get to one more story. Just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded. We're pretty far behind on the gift goal today, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal are the way that we prefer, or Super Chats. If we did a dollar train now, we got about 50 minutes left of the show. I'm going to talk about election interference, and then we'll get to some of this other stuff tomorrow. I've talked to Danielle. I don't know if Danielle's here, and if any of you guys have been here for a while, you know Danielle's kind of been the person behind pushing, talking about the anomalies in the 2024 election. And it's going to get annoying as fuck in the chat. So I just want you to prepare yourselves, because what Republicans in the chat are going to do is constantly point to 2020, where there's no evidence that the election was stolen. But we're going to talk about some actual evidence that the election was stolen. Now, we've covered the Election Truth Alliance before. We've shown like the way, like the scatter plots, and all the indicators that there is election interference happened not only in 2024, but in 2020 and in 2016. But it's getting more and more prevalent. And the reason we haven't covered this for a while is because most of the stuff, even though we found like new numbers and we have new studies, it's basically the same thing, that there are anomalies in these elections. You could take guesses as to where these anomalies come from, but nobody's ever been able to like pinpoint where these anomalies come from. For the record, if you're new to this, if I can break it down as simply as possible, if you look at, for example, Pennsylvania, and you look at a lot of these like heavily populated counties, as the election goes on and as turnout goes up, there is this flip. As turnout goes up in each of these elections, there's these sudden spikes for Trump. And it's not always in counties that he won, but you have to remember that it's not about how many counties you win, it's total votes in these states. And so you see these really big anomalies in like Allegheny County and Erie County, where late, even though Trump didn't win these counties, there's these late breaking votes that skyrocket in his favor. And Harris votes go the exact opposite way. And that can happen. Like, you can have anomalies that way. But what was interesting as you looked across each county is that they all started at about the same level of voter turnout, and they all looked almost exactly the same, almost as if once you got to a certain level of turnout, somebody was able to manipulate votes. And we've said this multiple times, that it's odd, but there was no real smoking gun. A lot of people have believed for a long time that it's Elon Musk. Tons of people have thought that. And we'll show you some clips here in a minute, but mostly because Elon Musk kind of said he was going to do it. And because Donald Trump kept alluding to Elon Musk understanding those computers. That never made any sense. Why would Donald Trump be saying Elon understands these computers when he gave him credit for helping him win? The computers are just counting votes. Why would you need to understand the computers to count the votes? Elon didn't go in and change any of those, allegedly. If he would, that would have been a crime, because he didn't work for the government at the time. So what does Elon Musk's understanding of computers have anything to do with Donald Trump winning? And Donald Trump said that a bunch of times. And we were kind of just left there. And that's where we've kind of left the election stuff. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for something to break that might give us some insight into who it was or what it was that was manipulating these votes. You can go look now, and hopefully we'll have more on this next week. But now they're looking into the Kentucky votes, and you're seeing that this same pattern over and over and over is being replicated. That is, as turnout goes up, there are these sudden spikes for Republicans that don't make any fucking sense. And then we had Ashley St. Clair. And Ashley St. Clair, who is, for the record, fucking awful. And I don't think that we should, I don't think that she really deserves a ton of credit. Ashley St. Clair is a pick-me. She chased a bunch of money on the right. She chased Elon Musk. She was willing to do and say anything to further her career, and she's doing it now. I've never seen anybody so thirsty for Hassan, and I've seen some thirst in my life. And now she's doing it on the left as well. And I don't think she should be embraced as somebody who is an honest arbiter of truth. But in Hassan's hand is her phone. And on that phone are her text communications with Elon Musk in October of 2024. So just so that we're clear, we don't have to believe her. We don't have to like her. We don't have to think that she even understands any of this, because I don't think she does. But what we do have is text messages between her and Elon Musk, who at the time was her boyfriend, who they have a kid together, bragging about something he was about to do in the election.
Wait, why does he actually talks like this?
Yes, he actually talks like this. And I wasn't being hyperbolic when I said
Can I read this one?
Yes, you can read the whole thing.
Okay.
You can read anything except my pick-me-isms.
Okay, I'm feeling more optimistic after tonight. And tomorrow we unleash the anomaly in the Matrix. And then this is not something on the chessboard, so they will be quite surprised. In air quotes.
What does that mean? What the fuck else could Elon be talking about? What is this anomaly? What is this change in the matrix? Paying Pennsylvanians to register? That's part of it. That had already been done at this point, though. Gabriel. There's Gabriel immediately. I got to suck Elon's dick real quick. Hold on. That had happened way earlier. He's talking about October 2024.
Lasers from space.
Go back here quick.
Air quotes, lasers from space. What?
Is he paying people with lasers from space? Gabriel, you just got to chill, man. I know you want your side to be right, but you jump to conclusions too early. You don't, and then you're just constantly defending one thing after another. What the fuck does that mean? Lasers from space? What does Elon have in space? He's got satellites, right? That provide internet. Those internets can connect to your phone. We know from Election Truth Alliance that you actually can connect to these voting machines through the internet. You just simply need access to a USB drive. You can put in a thumb drive that has a Wi-Fi connection, and you can hack into that. We also know from Election Truth Alliance that there were certain modules that could be bypassed that would allow you to change votes or manipulate votes. We know that for sure. I'd also like to point out on this freeze frame that still a pick me. Just ran out of options on the right, and now she sees Hassan's handsomeness and probably his money, and still a pick me.
And you made a joke.
It was a Marjorie Taylor Greene joke.
Yeah, you made a Jewish space laser joke.
I said finally a focus on the Jewish vote.
And he laughed at it. And then I have over 10,000 lasers in space right now.
So he doubles down and says, and quantifies his number of space lasers. So he did say that stuff. And then, okay, so in conjunction with that, then he's sending me the internal data from America PAC, where he's like tracking the real-time Delta vote metric.
How does he get that? There's only one way that Elon Musk could be getting real-time Delta vote matrices. It's only one way. He would have to have access to what was going through the machine. He would have to have access to the networks and these voting machines. He shouldn't have that. Just for the record, an unelected billionaire who doesn't sit on any of these boards, doesn't work on elections, there is no reason he should or could have access to that unless somehow he has a back door. What's a pick-me? A pick-me is somebody who their personality is based around, like, in this case, like a woman who's just trying to, like, be picked by Hassan. So they do and say anything. And she kind of admits that early. She's like, that was my pick-me stuff. So she'd pretend that Elon was cool. She would defend Elon. She would go along with his memes. She would kind of adopt his personality to win him over and get his money. Rascal Bean says, hey, from London, keep it up. Sherry said, hope this helps reach your goal. Say it. Sherry. Edward said, dollar train plus a few more for those that can't. Thank you very much, Edward. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for jumping on this dollar train. Lindsay said, this is not for the watermelon video. Not at all. Okay, you got it. Natalie says Antifa dues. Janelle, thank you. Kim said Antifa dues. Alyssa, thank you. I don't think I missed any of those. If I did, I'll get to them. All right, let's keep this going.
He has like the cash prizes as incentives. Like it was.
Yeah, it wasn't that illegal. I don't even understand how that was just like allowed. But I guess you can do that. If you're a billionaire, you can do that. If you're Israel, you can do that. It's cool. It's great. America is up for sale.
So what else could it be bad? Could anybody think of a different explanation here? Because this feels like a smoking gun to me. How does he have access to that data? What's he bragging about using space lasers for? Obviously, he paid people to vote, which was bullshit. And we know that was rigged. Like, the people who won actually worked for him. Anybody? Gabriel, did you give me something else he might be talking about there? Now's a good time to speculate. Elon does have access to some of the best computer programmers money can buy. Agreed. But we've seen these these hackathons where they hack into these election machines, and it's like everybody can do it. It's not even like that hard. You just need access. You can go through. There's multiple instances of, especially in local jurisdictions, of people bypassing the normal checks that they did. Not all these machines went through the normal checks before the election. It'd be very easy to put somebody on an election board and have them just overlook what was being done. I mean, look at Tina Peters. I saw something with Jasmine Crockett talking about how in some election they knew someone had lost because campaigns have data before the news agencies. Maybe he's talking about the same thing. Well, they have exit polling, Gabriel, but he's not. She was talking about the actual vote matrix. So she's talking about the actual data. But yes, with you have probably access to more real-time data because you have people in your party there. But you also have exit polling. I don't know exactly what Jasmine Crockett was talking about, but why would Elon have that? There's a story famously that Joe Rogan tells that like 4 hours before the election was called, Elon said, "Oh, we won," and he went home. Somehow he knew before the votes were even in. Let's get to this is actually just petty, but I like this. If any of you guys know who Emily Saves America is, this is her. I only really know her from debating Dean, but this is just me being petty with Ashley St. Clair talking about Emily Saves America.
Emily Saves America was involved in a honey trap situation.
Can you explain what that is for people unaware?
Honey trap is like where you have a young, pretty would be a nice word for her. Because she's chopped as fuck now. So Emily Saves America, I was at this company called Arsenal Media Group that was started by Benny Johnson and run by this fucking idiot in a 98 Dodge Caravan, Jason Cole.
Notice how all these content creators that come out of nowhere that are really dumb, and you think, how did they get elevated? Oh, because Benny Johnson and Jason whatever brought them in, and they buy votes. Or not votes, excuse me. They buy likes, they buy subscriptions, they buy views, and they pump these people through the algorithm.
And
that's how you get so many dumb conservatives like blowing up like this.
I'm fucking living for this conversation.
By the way, like fucking half the staff, which pissed me off because then everyone thought I was sleeping with him, and I was like, oh, I would never. So then Jason has Emily Saves America, sleep with a very prominent member of MAGA. And tries to get her to record it for blackmail on him. They're recording him FaceTiming. And
isn't that also illegal to like record?
Oh yeah.
Like
and then
sexual
she sent me a
acts?
text. She's like, "Why is your name in like a potential lawsuit against me?" I was like, "Red 8:42 a.m."
The whole right-wing ecosystem is one like dirty fuck fest. None of them have the values that they claim that they have. It's all about money. For every last one, they're all just actors. And they're all bankrolled by billionaires who need these people to go out and run cover for them, Gabriel, so that people like you get confused and think that the billionaires and the capitalists are the good guys, and they fill you full of misinformation and tell you that the government is bad and that the rich people are good. And they pay all these people to do this. The only reason I'm showing this is Ashley St. Clair is just spilling the beans. Like, this is how the right wing works. You ever wonder how somebody as dumb as fucking older millennial has that many views? How does Benny Johnson have views? How did all these people get all these views without literally never saying a word that made any fucking sense? Just like generic platitudes. How did they get there? Because they're paid. They can't survive off of their actual views. Ben Shapiro's not surviving off of his views and his ad revenue. He's surviving off of billionaire donors. Every conservative content creator, every last one of them that has a big show, they were bankrolled by some billionaire.
Yeah, and we're just going to open and
like,
close that one.
Yeah, she's a hoe. She's a hoe. And she's like just dumb as a doorknob. And she's been dating this guy forever who like won't marry her. And she's sitting here like shitting on all these other people.
Because she was hating on the one girl's engagement ring, right?
All right, we're going to end it there. You can go watch more petty stuff. I just wanted to see Barry, Emily Saves America. All right, let's get to actual reporting here from Election Truth Alliance. And this will probably finish us off for today. We got about 30 minutes left. If you guys want to help us, thank you. So we've made a lot of, whoops, this is the wrong one. Made a lot of improvement on that gift goal. So I thank you guys for that. Is this? There it is. This is from Election Truth Alliance.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Caught they caught the same thing from Ashley St. Clair. And the reason I'm showing this is not because it's necessarily new to this show, but again, this is the smoking gun. Like, this is a bigger story than I think most people in media recognize, because this implicates Elon Musk, and it gives people like Election Truth Alliance an actual person now that they can target, and now they can track backwards because they know how an election can be manipulated. They know how votes can be changed, but they didn't have a smoking gun of who actually was doing it. Most everybody assumed it was Elon Musk, but kudos to the Election Truth Alliance, who will not publish anything that they can't prove, and they don't publish conspiracy theories. So they've just basically said, until we have some evidence, like all we can do is give you the data. And they're still not going to blame Elon Musk here, even though I think it's kind of clear. But now you have a potential smoking gun, and I think that you'll see some mainstream media outlets now go after this. You're seeing more content creators. Obviously, Hassan went after it. Majority Report covered this. Young Turks covered this. There's a lot more people talking about this now. And with potentially more people like Ashley St. Clair who have been burned, we may just get some answers. Pumpkin said for Antifa dues. Thank you very much for that. Didn't miss any there. Make sure. Good. All right.
My name is Nathan. This is going to be a pretty interesting video. So I originally wanted to kind of give you an update on everything.
Let me speed Nathan up a little bit. I love him to death, but he is the slowest talker on earth.
But if you're paying attention to some recent news coverage around elections and infrastructure, there's been some breaking news, I would call it. So if you're not familiar with me and my background, my name is Nathan Taylor. I'm one of the 3 executive directors of the Election Truth Alliance. My specific background is in network security, technology, signal communications. I have a degree in network security. I've spent time as a 25 Bravo computer tech specialist with the Army Reserves, commissioned into the Army National Guard as a signal officer. So I've worked for a couple different companies at this point, civilian side to do, real-time network monitoring for banks and other industry and, healthcare, just a little bit of everything. And I think it's really interesting because that is what led me to start looking into our elections, looking into the data with, help from Jive and all of the other ETA volunteers who joined us. And then actually looking into the infrastructure, which we were always very hesitant to talk about because it is pretty complex. And, although the data that we
appreciate it,
made public now brings up concerns, it doesn't really tell us exactly how or what could create those effects. So we do have to be careful about, saying absolutely this is or is not, how you could do it. With all of that in mind, let's talk about what just happened. So if you're not familiar, just recently, I believe a day or two ago,
for sure, Carlos, all the left is funded by billionaires too. We're on the left over here. We advocate that billionaires shouldn't exist, that we should tax them more, and that we should have things like universal health care that's paid for largely on the backs of billionaires. But for sure, they fund us to say that, for sure. Like, just think about what people like myself stand for. And by the way, you can go look at our ad revenue. If you're a progressive and you have a YouTube channel, you get no ad revenue because all of these people with the money that are spending on ads don't like our policy. We don't get corporate sponsors for a reason. They don't like us because we don't want them to become billionaires.
A TikTok video went viral from Ashley St. Clair. I hope I'm saying her name right. I think that's right. And she was talking about her experiences with Elon Musk. If you're not familiar with who she is, I believe she is a ex of Elon Musk. I believe they've had a child together, and she was with him during the 2024 presidential election. Elon Musk made some statements to her in private or, during their text conversation.
I'm going to skip ahead. Take the Senate. He just goes over Ashley St. Clair's video, and now we're going to move into the stuff that Trump is talking about. So let's skip ahead just a little.
Well, is this the first time we've heard anything like this? And so here's a little video for you.
We can take the Senate pretty easily. And I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Our little secret is having a big impact. He and I have a secret. We'll tell you what it is when the race is over.
Computers are the greatest. He looked at some that were just shipped in, some of these vote counting computers. He knew it before it even came in the door. He looked like at the back of it. Oh, I know that one.
I'm a technologist. I know a lot about computers. And I'm like, the last thing I would do is trust a computer program. Because it's just too easy to hack. It's too easy to add just one line.
Yeah, it's too easy to hack. But he wouldn't do that, right? He's just honorable. Right? Thank you, by the way, for the gifted subs. I can't remember who was that. How to Live with a Smile. Appreciate that.
In space acts and quietly just do whatever we want.
And I have one more quote as well here. This one was, so a lot of those quotes were before the election, leading up to the election. This one is specifically right after, before inauguration.
Journey to Pennsylvania, where he spent like a month and a half campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. And he's a popular guy, and he was very effective. And he knows those computers better than anybody, all those computers, those vote counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So thank you to Elon. And
So a couple key things there. Well, first, don't forget to, like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Help out the social media team. But I'll keep it big picture for this. What were some of the takeaways?
Yeah. Think about this, though. Someone asked me, someone in the chat, I missed it, said, like, why would they be so brazen? Because it's pretty easy. If you win the election, you control the DOJ, nobody's going to investigate it. If you lose the election, nobody's going to investigate it because you lost. It's a pretty easy one. Same reason nobody's really investigated 2020. Do you think there's a reason that Trump hasn't actually investigated 2020? There's a reason for that. They're just going at places where they think Democrats might have cheated. But there's a reason we don't have like a full audit. There's a reason that they're not going through to Pennsylvania. There's a reason all their investigations have been focused on places like Georgia, because their operation seems to be in Pennsylvania, in Minnesota, in Wisconsin, in Arizona. And even in Arizona, like, it's marginal what they've done. They're not real investigations.
Ways from those statements. So we had a couple different statements about we don't need votes. We don't need you to vote. We don't care about voting. A couple statements about a little secret for taking the House, and maybe even suggesting, influences on the Senate as well, leading up to the election. And then multiple statements about vote counting computers, which is language you don't traditionally hear. Elon Musk knows those vote counting computers, and we won Pennsylvania like in a landslide. So these are all things all quotes that we've put up before. But having looked at, this recent news, those quotes seem to carry a little bit more weight. Let's ask that question then. It would be impossible to use satellites to mess with our election infrastructure. Right. Starlink provides both internet, and Starlink now has direct-to-cell services where you can use smartphones to talk to the satellites and get internet, which is important because you asked the question, if I have a cellular modem in something like my cell phone, is it connected to the internet even if it's not physically plugged in? Yes, absolutely. If you have cellular connection, you can access the internet. So Starlink has this capability and has had this capability for a while now, direct to cell. With that in mind, if I could leverage a satellite with a cellular modem capability, or being able to communicate with cellular modems, our systems aren't connected to the internet, right? And it's impossible. But here we are finding out that cellular modems have been detected for multiple years now in some of the leading voting infrastructure used across the U.S. At least 60 to 70% of the U.S. uses these.
So now that is new from when we first started covering this. For a long time, they said that none of these voting machines are connected to the internet. And I think I've even repeated that because we've looked at the election officials that have come out and said that they're not connected to the internet. But now we're finding out through hackers and through data that some of them were. That wasn't true. When they said they can't be connected to the internet and they're not connected to the internet, we found out later that they often were being connected to the internet after the election to transmit data and get the election results quicker. Well, if they can transmit data when the election is done, they can also transmit that data during the election if somebody hooks up a modem in the same way, a wireless modem. And we've learned that in these election machines, it's as simple as a wireless card or even a USB thumb drive that has a wireless modem. So we know that they can be hacked, and we now know that they were connecting to the internet despite previous reports from both the Biden and Trump administration saying that none of these were connected to the internet. Turns out that wasn't true.
2 to 3 major brands, and these major brands...
Yeah, Daniel, they said they were on a closed-loop circuit. It turns out that's not true.
Their most leading voting systems, their vote counting computers, their tabulators at the precinct levels have been found to come with cellular modems. Many places will actually use these cellular modems to upload results. I believe this is a thing in Minnesota. Pennsylvania says they don't do this. They say that they don't authorize the use of these modems and that they shouldn't have modems in their machines. But we're yet to get the documentation that shows that they actually said they removed them and they're not just deactivated, because deactivating them, there may be other vulnerabilities. just because you could talk to these systems, it doesn't mean that, it happened. It doesn't mean that they're online or anything like that, right? Well, here's the fun part as well. Election systems and software, which is what's used in Pennsylvania, by the way, used across most of the swing states. A lot of these voting systems in 2020, in 2021, I believe, and going back to even 2018, that the systems we're still using today, by the way, have been reported to have remote access software in them, installed and configured and accessible.
I like that, Phil. So I'm from Australia. I find American politics interesting. You guys are really full on with politics in Australia. We don't give a shit. Yeah, if you guys wanted your politics to be as cool as ours, you could just, what you want to do is you want to allow corporations and rich people to manipulate all the elections by buying off all the politicians and making it into a faux democracy. And then it becomes really interesting. But if I were you, I would keep things the same over there. Proud Atheist said, I have a theory. Trump is obsessed with losing in 2020 because he tried something like this and still lost because the turnout was bigger than expected. Danielle would love that. Wherever Danielle is, I think Danielle would agree with that wholeheartedly. And just a reminder, guys, about 20 minutes left. If you want to help us knock out that gift goal, that would be greatly appreciated. Super Chat, Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal are the way to go.
That could be accessed through cellular modems, via cellular modems. And yet we're finding out that these systems, I believe it's been documented at this point in 2020, 2021, where at least 35 different voting systems were connected to the internet and were accessible by ES&S across 11 different states. That's like management systems. That's the county level.
There we go. There's second explosive bullet. Remember when we predicted what they'd say? Now the left is claiming voter fraud after telling us for 4 years it doesn't exist. Yeah, we explained that before, but thank you. It is impossibly easy to predict what you all will say. Nobody said voter fraud couldn't exist. We said you didn't have any evidence of it existing, and you don't. This is evidence of voter fraud. And again, whether it happened or not, there's some anomalies here. And we now have people that were around Elon Musk claiming he did do something. So we're just investigating. Interesting, right? Nobody stopped you guys from investigating. Nobody stopped the 5 audits that my taxpayer dollars paid for in Arizona here to the tune of tens of millions of dollars that proved 5 different times that Joe Biden won the state. No problem there. But now that there's an investigation, suddenly you're mad about it. We didn't say that voter fraud doesn't happen. We said it didn't, that you didn't have any evidence that it happened, and you didn't. But that's like saying there's no evidence that I shoplifted, therefore nobody ever shoplifts. That's how dumb your argument is.
Worse. Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan, and across those 11 states, 14,000 tabulators were found to have online modems in them. I mean, that's the DS200s, which are used pretty heavily across the U.S. still. So it really brings up the question then, if I have the means to connect to these systems using cellular modems, which some of these systems have, or some of these systems are connected to the internet at the county level, the election management systems, which is what you send the data to, or you upload the data to using USB devices. Even then, right?
Who was arrested for voter fraud? Second explosive bullet. Are you talking about people? Like there was a handful of people that like got arrested for sending in multiple ballots of like their family members. Nobody said there was no voter fraud. There's voter fraud in every single election. There was no massive voter fraud perpetuated by the Democratic Party.
The software should be secure. It's certified. It's tested. There are no vulnerabilities to exploit except for, that remote management access, which was discovered. Right.
Sky Fox says, I still don't get why the Dems didn't pay for a recount in any state, even if outside the margin for auto recounts. My only guess there is that they didn't want to be accused after, again, this is kind of how Republicans work, and they have shaped this debate. Nobody wanted to be the person that came out and was like, hey, after saying that there was no voter fraud, now we're going to say there's voter fraud. I think that's fair. I was late to cover this. I definitely didn't want to sound like the dipshit fucking Republicans. And I think that a lot of people were afraid of that. So a lot of us have been waiting for more evidence before we're going to make a claim.
And yet here we are with our findings in Pennsylvania and our lawsuit there. This is something we're now making public, where the most recent software, the core version used during the 2024 election, is based
I like that. Y'all only claim voter fraud when you lose. Yeah, like Trump. Trump doesn't claim voter fraud in 2016 or 2024, but in 2020, there was massive voter fraud. Yeah.
Upon this software version
and that is true. Like neither party claims voter fraud when they win. They never do that. It doesn't fucking matter though. So like, let's get out of the politics. What we should find out is if there is voter fraud, who the fuck cares? It's not about who's making the claim here. And by the way, this claim is being made by a former Republican. Who cares who made the claim? Let's look at the evidence. This evidence is solid. The evidence here is solid that there was, like, when you see the exact same pattern in multiple counties and multiple states, and then you find out that the things we were told about the accessibility to these machines was a lie, that you actually can access them via the internet, that they were accessed via the internet, and that in some of these cases, there were actual internal modems that they claimed had been removed that were never removed. Like, that's just good evidence. You should investigate that. And if you were serious about caring about any of this stuff, you would probably say, let's investigate this. I don't know that any of us said you shouldn't investigate 2020. What we've said is it's been investigated a million times now, and there's no evidence. And if you ever get evidence that the election was stolen in 2020, we'll listen to it. But you've got to have some.
New York State has at least 420 vulnerabilities. They actually flagged more than that, but they've confirmed at least 420 vulnerabilities to the core software. And this was in, I believe, 2023. And I'm quoting what they flagged about would allow you to manipulate the counting and the storing of votes. This is a big deal. You could escalate privileges. You could change things. And that kind of concludes the pieces and the concerns about Starlink. As we said,
now, this is a totally different claim than any of the claims that the Republicans made. And that's why this should be investigated differently. The claim here is that the voting machines were accessed through a back door that everybody knows exists. I think one of the most damning pieces of information in all of this is that this is publicly available stuff. Like, we've shown videos from 10, 15 years ago where hackers are showing the vulnerabilities in these voting machines. What's interesting about knowing that that exists is that Republicans never made this claim. Republicans' claim has been about ballot harvesting and ballot dumping and fake ballots and people who are here illegally that are voting in elections. If this stuff is publicly available, why have the Republicans never investigated this? Could any Republicans tell me a good explanation for that? How come this has never been part of their claims? This is the most likely scenario. This would be far easier than submitting millions of fake ballots or fraudulent ballots. You know how fucking hard it would be to create millions of fake ballots or fraudulent ballots and keep that under wraps? You know how many moving parts you would need to have fraudulent ballots? They haven't proved any of that. But Gabe, answer that question. How come they've never talked about this? This would be the easiest way to cheat in an election. Why is it that you think Republicans don't investigate this way? I heard it about it from nut jobs in Twitter in 2024. Yeah, I mean, it's gone back. I think if Danielle's here, I think the first videos that we saw from this were like 2011, 2012. We've known about this for a long time. Maricopa County? Yeah, Maricopa County. We've had 5 recounts in Maricopa County, and they all determined that Joe Biden won. All 5 recounts were done by Republicans, by the way.
Hypothetically, if you did have the means to use satellites that had cellular capabilities to remotely access or upload malware to tabulation systems or election management systems that may or may not be connected to the internet across the U.S., then yes, theoretically, you could exploit these vulnerabilities and change votes. That's possible. Theoretically possible. Obviously, it would require a lot of capability to do so, but it would be possible.
Off topic, see Taco's new post today about Iran? I don't think so. I don't think I saw it.
Now, what about those other places that aren't connected to the internet? And what about the audits that we do that would catch this, right? We hand count, we double check, we certify the systems.
You've seen them toss legitimate ballots? No, you haven't. Where have you seen them toss legitimate ballots? How would you see a video and know whether or not the ballots are legitimate?
Well, here's a little snippet for you. If you're somewhat familiar with Volkswagen, I like to use this as a representation for how audits are not foolproof. Early 2015, I believe, is when it went public, where Volkswagen had designed in their systems a software defeat to emissions auditing, where they would test the systems, the machines, the cars, right?
I'm going to skip this part with Volkswagen. Basically, what they did is there was an emissions audit, and they were able to go in and change the data to show that emissions were actually lower lower than they initially thought. So I'm going to skip this example, and we're going to get to the malware examples.
You couldn't mess with them using satellites or anything like that. Well, there's other means to mess with systems. And this is what's important is with enough means, you can compromise anything. If you're familiar, Stuxnet is an example of this. If you're not familiar, Stuxnet was pretty much what a lot of cybersecurity experts dub the first cyber weapon, right? The first widespread malware. Specifically, it seemed to have been a software or malware designed by maybe the US and Israel to go after Iran, nuclear programs. How interesting.
Shocker.
It actually propagated onto an air-gapped system, destroyed the centrifuges that were used to enrich uranium for their nuclear program, and then it actually managed to infect the internet. But it was so specifically designed where it only went after software that was directly involved with the nuclear program stuff. Not being connected to the internet. And how did they do it? And the theory is, this is why Stuxnet is so interesting, is it's completely applicable to today. If I have voting systems that are never connected to the internet during operation, well, how could I introduce malware onto them? And Stuxnet was a solution for the Iranian nuclear program because their systems were never connected to the internet. They had people inside the nuclear program that were able to get their hands on media devices that had this malware on it, whether that hidden in furniture or snuck in other ways. But they somehow snuck this malware in, and then it breached the air gap by physical connecting to the systems locally. So could you do the same thing with enough know-how?
Thank you. That's a better explanation. Ross Ferracci said basically the Volkswagen thing is they had the engines run less efficiency, lower power but cleaner during audits. Then when they were on the road, they ran dirty. Thank you.
Could you compromise our election infrastructure? Absolutely.
And we'll finish this up in about 15 more minutes. Just a reminder, guys, if you want to help us knock out that gift goal, it looks like Jen says there's 109 left in the gift goal. I appreciate your generosity. Sometimes we hit it, sometimes we don't, but it goes a long way in allowing us to continue to do this. So thank you in advance for helping us knock that out.
You have to understand that all the voting systems that aren't connected to the internet, how are you uploading the data from those tabulators to the county? How are you transferring that? Well, you use a USB device or a media device. And so you have to understand then these systems are updated prior to the election. They're plugged in at some point, or they're given software updates by USB. So at some point, they are connected to the internet before the election, and then they're taken off, air-gapped.
Hey, grift goal, that's fine too. Thanks, Gil.
But then you still have to copy the data from the machines through USB. There's been no examples of this, right? We check the software that goes on our USB devices, right? We make sure those USB devices are clean, right?
No.
Well, no. This has been another big issue.
This is what's interesting. So this is something that they've actually uncovered about a week or two ago, before Ashley St. Clair even came out with this. So this is why it's been even more confirming to hear Ashley St. Clair talk about this, is that they have found multiple instances where people are bypassing the regulations and did not complete the checks that they were supposed to do pre-election, specifically in Pennsylvania.
So this is actually dated for 2021. This was a big deal because there were documented issues in 2020 where the EAC investigated a problem with ES&S. They found problems with their USB devices. The documents showed that, so Texas voting machine examiners found a ES&S uncertified USB stick that was used to install software updates for some of these voting systems used across the state. And when they found that USB stick, the software installed didn't match the certified software. It failed the security check. This was a big deal where they found that the software wasn't matching what should have been on it. There was an investigation, and the document suggested that this investigation scaled up to 19 states that were vulnerable to this potentially malicious software or USB device compromise that you could do.
So this could be done by Republicans or Democrats, right? Do we agree with that, my Republican friends? Do we agree that saying having this system that didn't pass checks, that has a different software installed and didn't pass their validation, anybody could take advantage of this, right? This could be Democrats or Republicans. Do we agree on that? Thumbs up if you agree with that. So if we're looking at 2024 and we're looking at who potentially have the ability to do this, you should probably look at Democrats and you should look at Republicans. And if you looked, what would you look for if you're looking at the data here? If you're looking at the data here and you're trying to figure out, did somebody cheat? Did somebody use this access? You would look for anomalies that occur across the board. You would look for anomalies that take place in the same time, in the same way, with the same pattern. And when you look at that, what you will see is that there is only one real significant pattern and it takes place in all the swing states. That once, I think it's 60%, once it's past 60% voter turnout, there is a massive spike for Trump and there is a drop for Harris. And it happens in every single one of those states. The chances of that not being fraud are pretty substantial. Like, not impossible, right? But almost impossible. That in all of these counties, at about, I think it's 60%, you're seeing a spike for Trump and a drop for Harris. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So there's the anomaly. Then you have to investigate how that could have happened. And that's the part where we just haven't done. And if you're an American citizen and you're not just a cultist, dick-riding Trump supporter, you should want an audit here. You should want some transparency here. If this is possible, then why wouldn't Democrats do this to win? And then would you care? Probably. I think we should look into it. I think everybody should agree this is a problem. Our elections can be hacked. If our elections can be hacked, and they've been able to be hacked multiple times, then we should look into that. I want to show you this. Actually, this is from Election Truth Alliance, but they regularly use, I forget the guy's name. Forget his name. But this is looking at Minnesota. This is incremental fraud range. So what you see here is that it's Klimek. He's notoriously known as like one of the most foremost experts on election fraud. He has modeled foreign interferences, specifically in like Russia and Ukraine, and looking at the indicators of when you have a fraudulent election. What you'll see here is this spike since 2016. And this is minimum estimated fraud, which is purple, maximum estimated fraud, which is orange, and average estimated fraud, which is green. And you can see there were some problems here in this Dole versus Clinton, Bush versus Gore, Bush versus Kerry, but it has exploded since 2016. So we know that there's at least indicators that there was a lot of fraud in all of the last 3 elections. That includes 2020, the one that you guys think was stolen. So if this is possible for Trump to do this in 2024, then it's possible for the Democrats to do it in 2020. But what we would need to see is we would need to go to these places where you have high fraud indicators, and you would investigate that way. That's what's weird about what the Republicans have done, is that they haven't done any of that. They keep like going back to these bizarre conspiracy theories where you had millions of people working together to create fraudulent ballots, and then like nobody ratted on each other. They just found no instances. It's very strange that this data exists and could very easily prove that the Democrats cheated in 2020, but they don't ever use this. This is the best evidence we have that there's some sort of election interference, and yet the Republicans are silent on it. I think that's more telling than anything else. Yeah, now they don't want investigations. Exactly. Phoenix said if the audit shows nothing, the Republicans get free clout. There's literally no downside to not. Not one Republican is calling for this that I know of. Sandra said, great show. Enjoy listening to you every day. Thank you, Sandra. Enjoy seeing you every day. And my lady Hernandez says, for the griftiest of grifters. That, of course, is me.
There were other problems where the SNS, I think, had issues with the way their certification and their hashing checks were done. And ultimately, the issue and the investigation were never reported or referenced publicly. I believe it might be more public now. This is a vulnerability that has not been really addressed currently. This is still a problem. How are we checking that the USB devices we are using to upload or take data from these machines that aren't connected to the internet is actually secure and hasn't put, malware hasn't been put on it? This is why this kind of brings it all together. Is we talked about, modems, we talked about, compromise with malware. Well, in our lawsuit, we bring up those concerns. The data that we've published at this point for Pennsylvania and other places. Remember, Pennsylvania, he knows those vote counting computers. Well, we flagged the data.
His name is Nathan. I forget his last name. Nathan Taylor is his name.
The machines had problems in Pennsylvania. For example, Cambria County, they had a logic and accuracy testing, a document that doesn't seem to be legitimate. And some of their own emails say that they didn't do some of the testing that their documents said.
This was the stuff that they uncovered like 2 weeks ago. So this is Cambria County in, I believe, Pennsylvania. They went and they have these logic and accuracy testing, and they subpoenaed the internal emails, and the emails revealed that they didn't do these logic and accuracy testing protocols. Why? Were they lazy? Maybe. Were they told not to? Maybe. But why didn't they do it? We should probably investigate that, right? If you're required to go through this testing to make sure that everything works, and you didn't do it, then we should probably investigate why, and then we should go back through those ballots and make sure that everything was legit, right? Would any Republican disagree with that? If Democrats are cheating, this would show that Democrats were cheating, and Trump would win by more. And this would take down the Democrats once and for all.
As they did. This is a concern, right? Because you're trusting the counties to follow the rules, to do the audits, to verify before the election, and to hand count, a small sample after the election. But you're relying on the county to do this, and you need to spot check. You need to make sure. You need to verify. And that's what our lawsuit is saying. Is we're saying there's so many problems around what happened.
So here's the so every precinct reported ballots that could not be scanned due to paper ballot errors. Every single one. Why? I don't know. Should we investigate that? Probably. Thousands of ballots stored in emergency bins without chain of custody documentation. This is the same stuff that Republicans have complained about in Georgia. This was what they tried to get these ballots thrown out. And what happened in Georgia is they had some of these ballots that didn't have chain of custody, and they had to go back through, and they did a hand recount in Georgia. So why not a hand recount in Pennsylvania? Why not? Officials ordered 74,075 new ballots plus 35,000 express vote cards midday on election day. Why? We don't know. Should we investigate it? Absolutely. Why haven't we? Volunteers duplicated 65,000 ballots with no tracking of which were duplicated, and final results only recorded 55,661 election day votes, leaving thousands unaccounted for. I think we should investigate that, right? Right, Republicans? We should investigate that.
With the 2024 election in Cambria, Erie, and
left tyranny or right tyranny? What if we got rid of tyranny by investigating? What if we did that?
Allegheny, where some of the machines stopped working, by the way. Cambria County, all of their machines couldn't scan the ballots during the election day until later. On top of that, we had, mismatching reports.
This is also, once again, why Democrats are such fucking losers and why they're such fucking pussies. If this happened, if Trump had lost, this would have all been investigated. Republicans would have made sure this was investigated. And even if the investigation results didn't turn out their way, they would order like 9 more investigations. This is why Democrats are so fucking useless. This is simple. Investigate it. Why they're so afraid to investigate it blows my fucking mind. But Republicans would have investigated all of this.
And the data, when we ran it using peer-reviewed election forensic methods, used to look at Russian elections, experts, instead of humans voting, it almost seemed like a machine based on a preset formula was deciding the votes and the red flag. So we bring all this up because we want audits in Pennsylvania. We want the judge to compel hand count audits in some of these places. And we flagged the vulnerabilities of these systems that we're still using today that could be exploitable and could have been exploited during the 2024 election. And they will be exploitable for the midterms. So to summarize the concern, we'll kind of close out there. Don't forget, like, subscribe to the video, and we'll be publishing more about the systems and the infrastructure at scale. But the take our concerns. If you had the means to utilize satellites to talk to cellular modems, you could introduce malware. You could exploit vulnerabilities, and that is capable. That is possibility. The distinction is there is not yet evidence that is what happened. That is.
I would argue there's not definitive evidence, but reading text messages directly from Elon Musk, referencing satellites, consistently referencing vulnerabilities in the election system, Donald Trump consistently talking about Elon knowing those computers and their little secret, knowing that Elon Musk was and his operatives were going to these election boards and they were trying to get in. That's what, if you remember the Tina Peters case, what she was accused of doing is taking somebody unelected and a Republican operative and giving them access to what? The voting machine. That's what she was accused of. That's what she did. That's why she's in jail. She took a Republican operative, let them in, and gave them access to the voting machines. Now, it would be easy to then say, like, perhaps there were other Republicans who were being pressured to do what Tina Peters did. It's hard for me to believe that Tina Peters was the only person pressured. I think that person was from Texas, too, if I remember right. We think she's just the only one? 48% of voters. Oh, talking about Kamala.
That's why we want investigations into the original paper ballots, into the vulnerabilities around the systems, because realistically speaking, if I could introduce malware, there would be no evidence. The malware would self-destruct on the way out or when you close or reboot.
I see you guys talking about Tina Peters. I don't like Tina Peters. She's not being pardoned. The rest of her sentence is being commuted. And I think that Polis's explanation makes sense, honestly. Nobody else has got the amount of time that she got for similar crimes. She's older. Her health is struggling. She's not being, they're not saying, she's not getting a pardon. She's still a convicted felon. She can never vote again. She can never hold office. Maybe you could argue that he's being too easy on her, but she is still convicted of that crime. She's still guilty. She still served, I think, with time served for like pretrial stuff, like 6 years, I think. But yeah, her sentence still stands. She just, her conviction still stands. They just are giving her less jail time. I don't know if I like it or not. I don't think it's that outrageous though. I'm not that alarmed by that. I was annoyed at first when I saw that he was going to do it, and then his explanation actually kind of made sense.
The system or anything. So really, it just brings up the question: how can we do better going forward? How can we fix these vulnerabilities? How can we not use cellular modems in our machines? How can we make sure our election infrastructure isn't accessible to the internet? And how can we double check so that the paper matches the digital reports? And that is all stuff we are working towards here at the Election Truth Alliance. As we go forward, we're pushing into our Pennsylvania lawsuit, as you know. There are some other pieces in the background for that, but we're trying to push that along. At this point, we're waiting on the judge's decision on how things will continue. But all of these things and these findings, they do bring up further concerns, and not just Pennsylvania, across the U.S., especially as we get closer to the next major election. So thank you guys very much for listening. If you want to support the ETA, we're going to put out an update very shortly. We actually put out a newsletter talking about kind of where we are at, fundraising, what we've spent our money on in the past, what projects we're still working on.
That's Election Truth Alliance. You can catch them on YouTube if you want to like and subscribe over there. It's Election Truth Alliance. And every time there's new information, they update you. So we'll have more updates as it goes forward. We'll see you on a private plane soon. Get out of Colorado. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I don't like it, and it does feel like it feels like Tina Peters is getting her sentence reduced because nobody caught anybody else doing the same thing. Nobody even really tried. So I agree with that. I know she was like in fights in prison. I don't know if she started that fight or not. I'm not sure, but I'm with you, Ak. I think the sentence might have been excessive. I think they tried to make an example out of her, which sometimes they do, but she probably had a legitimate argument that the punishment was excessive. All right, that's what we've got for you guys today. Jen, did you have anything you wanted to add before we go?
No, I mean we didn't hit the gift goal, so I mean, not mad. I'm not mad.
All right, she'll take it out on me, guys. It's fine.
I'm just disappointed. I'm just gonna say that's all.
What did I was just reading something that made me laugh. Where did it go? Oh yeah, that's what it was. Tony said it. Is it just me, or do women seem to keep paying for men's crimes? Yeah, 100%. And with this administration, yeah, the women will all go down. I mean, everybody will go down. Trump will bury his own family before he goes down from this. But there we go. Another video from me tomorrow. Yeah, right. Yeah, all right. I'm not doing another video like that for a long time. If you haven't seen it, which we can show it one more time. We'll show it one more time today. There's a trend on TikTok of people breaking a watermelon between their legs in support of women's heart health. And so I made my video, and we'll show that now one more time. And then I'll get out of here. So enjoy if you guys missed it at the beginning. If you're on TikTok, you've probably already seen it. But let me do this. Let's see. Full screen. Here you go. We'll end it on this, and then I'll get out of here. There you go. Enjoy that song being stuck in your head for the rest of your fucking life, because it's been stuck in my head ever since then. Guys, until I see you tomorrow.
Really quick.
Oh.
Tiffany sent a donation to help me not beat your ass, but we still haven't hit it. And then Johnny Longtrail. Choo choo.
Thank you, Johnny. Love it. Thank you. You said Emily? Is that right? Yes, my girlfriend did film it. She did not like doing that. As far as I can tell, we're still together. We were still together when she left this morning. So we'll see when work is done if we're still together. We'll find out.
It was Tiffany.
It was Tiffany. Thank you. Sorry, I said Emily. My bad. Until I see you guys tomorrow morning, take care of yourselves. And we'll catch you tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on YouTube and on Twitch. And until I see you, go outside and touch some grass. If you can't go outside and touch grass, smoke grass. If you can't smoke grass or touch grass, best of luck to you. Be nice to yourselves. Be nice to your family. Be nice to your friends. But most importantly, get in front of that mirror. Look at yourself. Tell yourself how much you love yourself. Put your boots on the ground. Drink lots of water. And until I see you again, stay cute and cool. And have a great summer.